are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana.
32 minutes, 21 seconds. 5-second tone followed by a 1-second pause.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Okay, gang, let's go.
From the space city called Houston, Texas, welcome to Spaceboy Universe, featuring Spaceboy and the lovely Sir Lana. So strap in and prepare for launch sequence. And remember, it's Spaceboy's Universe, and you're in it.
Well, it's more than Spaceboy's Universe. It is with Sir Lana's Universe. But in the end, it is. Greetings, everyone. I'm Spaceboy, and it is Spaceboy Universe time. It is February the 18th, and tonight's special guest is ken-gerhard, and we'll probably take your calls if you're nice. We'll see. As always, you can follow us on Twitter. That's at the SBU Universe. Follow Sir Lana at Sir Lana. Follow me at Spaceboy Music, and of course, follow the network that brings you all this wonderful content. That's at the SBU Network. Remember to hashtag your tweets tonight with hashtag Spaceboy, with hashtag SB Universe, and hashtag Space Cadets. Want to hang out with all those Space Cadets? You can do so by going to Spaceboy Universe or SBU network.com, and on the player, check the dancing chat bubble, and that should get you in with all the cool kids. In addition to Twitter, you can find the universe on Facebook, Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Just look for Spaceboy Universe. Speaking of YouTube, you can find more than the Spaceboy Universe of archive of shows. That is right. There is video content from Spaceboy Music, video interviews, 2-Bit Gamers, and so much more. Can't check the show out live? No problemo. Take the SBU on the go with you via Spreaker, SoundCloud, and iTunes, because we like to broadcast. So on that magical note, how are you, Sir Lana?
Confused.
Well, about what? Did I use the wrong intro?
Yeah, I
Yes.
caught that. You think I'd catch that, didn't you?
That is the wrong intro.
That is the wrong intro.
I need to go through and delete that one out. It's our universe now, because we're exploring. I need to update it to where it says "Explore the Universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana." So anyway,
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, but I apologize.
I'd like to say first before we get into it, Bob, it's good to see you. We're glad you're back. Glad you're better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that story you're telling me about Bev giving it to you first, making you sick. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is good to see Bob. I see a few other regulars in there. Hello, Tanner. It's about time you made it back to the universe. It's been much too long, my friend. Oh, and there's Sis. And
yeah.
Sis has joined us. Catalina, so good to see you this evening. I don't know where K28 is. Maybe
he's down at the bottom.
Is he really?
He's there.
He is there? Okay,
yeah.
Good. So hello, K28. If you're out there, just chime in. But there you go.
No, I don't believe you, Bob.
Some of the regulars, yeah, she's a tough cookie to crack, Bob. You can't pull the wool over her eyes. Hey, there's Missy.
Missy's back.
Good evening, Missy. I hope you're doing wonderful. So, it's been another wonderful week.
No, it hasn't.
Well, I didn't finish this. To get to Saturday. And, it is time for a first update for week 6. So shall we get this update?
Yeah.
Yeah, so here we go.
Right out of the fog, right out of the mist, rise the robots, they do exist.
Founded in 1989 and based in Manchester, New Hampshire, FIRST is a 501 not-for-profit public charity designed to inspire young people's interest in participating in science and technology and motivate them to pursue education and career opportunities in the STEM field. Join Spaceboy Universe as we cover the 2017 FIRST Robotics Competition. We're so pleased to have Adolfo and Andrew along with Jim Fox, week 6.
Yes, it is. It is week 6.
And to my knowledge, this is pretty much the end of your building week, right?
We've only got about 4 days left.
Wow.
Nothing on the competition robot, but after Tuesday, we can still practice on the practice robot.
So with 4 days left, I mean, does everything look like it's coming together for you? Are you ready to bag and tag your robot or your robots?
Well, I could say yes, but that would be lying. No.
It's becoming very stressful right now.
Yeah.
It looks like it might come together. We're making some progress, but
If we pray to the robot gods, it might come together. We are in our actually final stages of prototyping, which is terrible because that should have been like 2 weeks ago. But we are fortunate to have mentors who can get things done quickly. So one of our mentors is water jetting some of our pieces that we're going to need like in a couple of hours to start building our competition robot. And he works at NASA. So kudos to the robonauts for letting us use their shop sometimes, and to him for getting our parts set, because this is completely last minute and it's really stressful.
Well, you know, they say stress builds character, so how's your character holding up?
oh, well, Adolfo sometimes comes in a little grumpy.
No. We stayed until about 2:30 last night, and then I woke up at 7 this morning. So it's definitely stressful, tiring, but we managed.
We're getting some good morality. Hopefully it'll pull together.
We have snacks that keep people happy.
I will tell you this, that snacks do make us happy. You must be, you know, even though you have the stress going on, you must be extremely excited knowing that you're getting ready to actually get into the battlefield, so to speak, and test your creation. So that must be very exciting for you right now.
Most definitely. We're really looking forward to the competition this year. It's such a cool competition. I think we've said that plenty of times. We're just pumped and hyped and ready for it.
Once again, could you briefly remind our audience about the competition?
Essentially, there's a bunch of wiffle balls, and there's, I think, 600 of them on the field at one point. We have to put them inside a container and eventually deposit them. And then there are also gear elements to that, and we have to add those to the tower, the plane. And once all the gears are in place, then the blimp, per se, takes off, and you get more points. So the team who gets the most points is the winner of the competition, of that match.
So there's like 3 parts of the game. You've got the shooting the balls, the placing the gears, and the climbing the rope.
As the days come ahead, what is your final thoughts going into this last 6-week period?
Final thought is that we should have finished about 2 weeks ago, so we could have been driving by now. But I think these additional 2 weeks of just modifying our systems has really helped us see what we need to work on, and that our ideas weren't that terrible after all.
I feel because of those extra the extra 2 weeks, we're able to refine them so much better. The systems work better than if you were to take last year, for example. We're in about the same predicament, just we did not have as much depth into the system.
We're much more prepared mentally about the system this year than we were last year.
Most definitely.
Well, that's good.
Well, great. Adolfo, Andrew, Jim, we appreciate you taking the time to be a part of the universe and opening your doors into your universe. And we hope for the best for you and look forward to seeing you as you work your systems out on the floor.
I hope it works out as well. Next week, we will be hosting a fundraiser at our shop at the Lee High School in Baytown. And we will be serving food platters for, I think the tickets are $10. If any of the listeners want to come out and help us, because this will definitely help us try to get to Lone Star. Alamo, not Lone Star. Just kidding. Yes, Alamo. You have to remember the Alamo. Remember the Alamo, yes.
Jim, as always, you like to put in some final thoughts before we sign off. You want to go ahead and give those?
Before we do, I want Andrew to mention our social media opportunities here so folks can reach out to us.
Yes, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at 1255 Blarglefish. those are the two social media networks we have. You can keep updated with us, and go ahead and follow us.
Yeah, and thanks everyone, not only the two hosts here, Sorlana and Spaceboy, but all of your listeners for following us and supporting us. And, I've got to give a shout-out every week to anyone listening that says, go out and find a team near you and support that team with your time or your dollars.
All right.
Well, there you go. A little caught you off guard, didn't it?
Yeah, I put my headset back on because I didn't want to hear myself.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, you have this. I'm kind of that way sometimes myself.
Yeah, sometimes I just can't take it.
It's just like, I've already heard this story before. Why do I want to hear myself tell it again?
Yeah.
But I have to because I've got to monitor the program so I know when to come.
You sound like how you sound. I don't.
What do you mean?
There's something about being recorded that machines take my voice and do something terrible with it.
Trust me, you sound just the same as you do when you're recorded or when we're broadcasting live.
Oh, well, that's depressing as heck.
Dear, your voice is wonderful. And, in fact, many of the cadets out there...
You're paid to say that.
How am I paid to say that? Anyway.
What are you ruffling over there? What are you doing?
I was putting paper aside of my notes that I've been doing. My
sure
script.
It wasn't that Mega Big Mac you had away?
Oh, well, I got two. I put the other one in the refrigerator. Yes, I went to McDonald's tonight to get some food before the show, and we actually set out to go to Burger King. And
they're remodeling it.
They're remodeling it. That shows you how often we go to our local Burger King to get burgers. But and then she didn't want to go to Jack in the Box.
I just can't face it right now.
And so I said, you know what? I am going to McDonald's. I'm just going there. And then
you go there.
And
go on.
And what did you say?
You go there.
But I'm not eating there. That's what you said.
Feel free to eat there, but I don't want nothing.
But as a good husband that I am, I drove out of my way to get to Whataburger to get you a burger, your usual.
I can't have McDonald's burgers. They're
bun, ketchup, and meat
nasty.
only.
I'm sorry.
So anyway, I took care of you, and just points.
Worth it.
Points leading up to Husband of the Year again. So with that said, do you have something to throw at me?
Got lots of things
the audience?
To throw at you. I have loads of. I got a fingernail file. I got some pins I could throw at you. Let's see. Look, hang on, I lost it. Where did it go?
Open that tab.
Sure enough, it's gone. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Where did it go? Here it is. I've got it saved in a TXT file. Hold on. Because I wanted to share this, something my sister might be interested in if she doesn't already know this. She's usually ahead of me on Mystery Science Theater 3000 news. So I just saw this off of the Nerdist.com. Mm-hmm. Mystery Science Theater 3000 comes to comics in the not too distant future.
Comics?
So it's gonna be a comic book series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's gonna be on Dark Horse Comics. And you're probably wondering, how is a show that's primarily about making fun of movies going to be a comic book series?
Yeah.
But they said Dark Horse has a lot of experience transitioning things that don't necessarily seem to fit in a comic book series, but they make it happen. So there's going to be probably a lot of more of their antics when they're not in the theater,
like
when they're on the spaceship.
Yeah, I was going to say on the spaceship and interstitials.
Because it's basically a prison ship for the host and the little robot, so they could have lots of wacky misadventures on the side, on the station, without losing the signature sense of humor. And they can replicate that vibe, but the only thing is they don't know if they're going to have the series be about the new guy, Jonah Ray, or it's going to be the original Joel, or maybe even Mike Nelson.
Right.
Because those two are still popular, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, I wonder when the Jonah Ray version is supposed to be coming out. That would be, and as I speak, the lovely Sorlana is searching the internet for...
No, I'm not.
No, you're not?
No.
Well, I would still like to know when Jonah...
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, well, get back to me on that, because I'm, like you, waiting for the return of that.
Well, I'm curious, but I mean, I don't have But I don't know. When Joel left and I was watching it, I was like, well, that's it. And then they brought the new guy in. I was like, oh, I it's not going to be the same. I'm not going to like it. Turned out I liked Mike way better. He was closer to my age. He made references I understood. He's closer to my generation than Joel was. So I ended up liking the third cast better. So
Right.
Anyway.
Well, anyway, so what else you got over there?
Well, I got some music news for you.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
Well, I like music. I think I do, at least.
So you'll be just tickled pink to learn, pun intended, the cane used to beat the members of Pink Floyd finally added to the museum.
Okay.
So this May, London's Victoria and Albert Museum will open the Pink Floyd exhibition, Their Mortal Remains. It's a comprehensive retrospective on the band, and it commemorates their 50 years.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
First off, I can't believe the fact that you're talking Pink Floyd.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was the only music news I could find, because, like, current artists, current news, like, could not care less.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Well, there was the Bruno Mars thing we were talking about.
Well, let's not sidetrack,
I'm
please.
sorry. You know I get off into
Don't. I'll smack you so hard. So from May to October in that museum, there'll be 350 artifacts from the group, everything from their instruments to replicas, set pieces of their famous tours. They're going to have a replica of their old touring van. They're going to have a setup that replicates the basement bar where they got their start. So I think it's kind of interesting to me. So, but they said no tribute to the band would be complete without the bamboo cane that was used to spank Roger Waters when he was in school. This cane was used to administer the flimsy beatings across his behind at the Cambridge school, where the headmaster, who really didn't have his heart in it, but that headmaster later became the inspiration for the teacher character from The Wall, about using the whip to whip the dark sarcasm and double negatives into the kids that don't need no education, So that cane will be there as well as the logbook that has all the people that were beaten.
Okay.
I just thought that was really interesting.
I've heard stranger things put into museums, and somehow I'm not surprised. Sorry, there, I had to follow up.
I was like, what's going on in chat there?
Yeah, I was like, your sister telling you to slap me with a yardstick.
No.
Behave.
No.
Anyway, so very interesting stuff. I'd like to take a moment here to let the Space Cadet some news. I had the opportunity to talk to a gentleman by the name of Joe Roop, who is, I guess, over at the FM, the Fringe FM. And so, a lot of people have been giving us feedback in regards to the scheduling and everything. There are big beyonders out there that like to listen to that show. And then, of course, there are space cadets that like to listen to our show. And they've been having, this, I guess, confusion of who do I listen to tonight? Who do I listen to? And it's never been about smacking Dave down or whatever. We've always been very supportive of Dave and his show, and so now there is going to be a possibility, and we're working out the details still. You will get the best of both, and what we're working on right now is if it's feasible for us to broadcast. You'll still get the SBU network, and you'll still get Spaceboy Universe on our regular network, but the Fringe FM will be an affiliate for Spaceboy Universe and possibly Spaceboy Music. So we're working that out. And what does that mean as far as doubling up? Means that we might start our show an hour early, earlier, and do 3 hours like we normally do. And then Dave would come on right after us and do his show. So you would get a solid Saturday night of the universe and Beyond the Strange. So, like I said, if when it does and how it works now, we still got to work out the technical difficulties. You, the listener, are going to enjoy the package that we'll give you Saturday nights with both our shows. And so I guess it's really going to be a situation where the universe, or Space Boy universe in general, and Space Boy music and Beyond the Strange will own the weekend. So you'll have one great weekend starting Friday evenings and going all the way into Sunday nights. So you're smiling over there.
Oh, I'm just thinking, I just got to start doing some research, find a network for myself for a Jane Austen talk, maybe.
Well,
there's really no place for me.
Well, Joe, I think he's going to have to get used to our programming because we're not totally 100% Fringe. We cover six different topics.
We've covered a bunch of Fringe lately, though.
Yeah, but we've had some opportunities come up,
scheduling is the reason that you get so many in a row is because they just seem to come up like that.
Well, it's interesting you bring up Fringe because our epic fail last Sunday, we were supposed to go see Daryl Sims at the Houston.
I'm surprised you're telling that.
Houston meetup. Well, it's we were jazzed. We were ready. We had our game face on, and we were ready to go see him, talk about different things. And we get there. First off, we are on the opposite side of where the universe of where this event was going to be.
If you know where NASA is,
it's pretty much out there. We're on the flip side of Houston. So anyway, we drive all the way out there. We get there. We sit in the car. We're drinking our beverage, getting ready to walk in. We get in there, and apparently the event isn't until tomorrow. So we went all that way, and not to hook up and do what we were intending to do.
But the thing is,
I know. Go ahead.
The meeting is in Webster, Texas, which is, strangely enough, where I moved to when I first moved here to Texas.
Right.
And that is the city I met Space Boy. Started dating him.
So even though it was a fail on the part of Daryl Sims and going there,
not Daryl Sims' fault.
I'm saying
for not reading properly.
We're not reading properly. Even though I have an executive producer, we're still going tomorrow, which is the date of the thing that we were supposed to do. But since it was last week, we just went to one of our favorite Cajun eateries out there that Sir Lana loves so much because it reminds her of home. And so I said, congratulations, consider this a part of Valentine's Day.
That was freaking awesome.
And it was. We had a good meal.
I took pictures and everything.
And so it wasn't a total washout. Nope. And so it was a good thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a win-win across the board.
We kind of visited our old haunts, our old, the apartment where I was living when I met you, and then you moved into the same apartment complex. And
then we merged apartments, and
we didn't go find the Chinese buffet. We weren't really sure where it was.
Yeah. But other than that, that was last Sunday, and which I'm sure I could see in the chat room, a lot of people are talking about the Fringe FM, and it's going to be fun.
Fringe FM is in the chat room.
It's going so quick that I couldn't even see it. So, but we're working out the technical details on that, and hopefully once we get those all figured out, I told Solana today that. Damn, I'm going to have to go to Guitar Center. And she just looked at me like that's really a heartbreak for you.
Yeah, boo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah.
It's like saying, gosh darn it, I've got to go to Sam Moon.
Yeah, so, and of course, explain the audience, Sam Moon.
Sam Moon is like Purse Church, where you go to worship purses and accessories for women. So
there's something for everyone. There's Purse Church for her and Guitar Center for me. So, but so I'm looking forward to, branching out and expanding the universe once again. And the Fringe FM, Joe, he's a righteous dude, and I like him. And in fact,
like Ferris Bueller, he's a righteous dude.
I found that we were talking the other day, and he's studying A+ certification, and but anyway,
the problem with A+ certification now is you have to get re-upped. You got grandfathered in closet. You're certified for life.
I don't have to take it ever again.
I took that test. I studied for it, and I didn't pass.
Honestly, I don't understand why you have to retake that.
I'm A+ trained. I'm not certified, but I've gotten by without being certified. I got a job in tech support without being certified because nothing in that test and nothing I studied had anything to do with what you actually do with tech support.
Well, I'd say 10% of the knowledge out of the A+ is used practically, and the rest of it is just knowledge base of just how things are. The test is broken down here. I'm talking tech talk now. Broken down into two parts. You have your hardware and you have your OS. And it's you can easily pass the hardware part, but
the only thing you need to know about hardware is what does the blue screen of death mean? That means a hardware failure.
So the thing is, at the end of the day, we talk tech, and we got to meet with our minds on that, and I gave him some good advice about that in general, and
like don't do it.
But so. As a footnote, if you want to take your A+, I encourage you to go to CompTIA.com for some.
Make sure
some
you're doing.
practice test.
It would be best if you got the part where you're just on the phone talking to people, not the part where you're having to go touch computers and interact. Because next thing you know, you'll be crawling around on the floor, hooking up stuff and people's toenail clippings like I was.
Well, that's
what I said. That's it. I quit, and I did.
There's nothing worse than as a tech guy having to move someone's equipment or get under someone's desk. I find that every time that I have to do something like that, move equipment, my allergies kick in because
there's
so much dust and
surprises down there sometimes.
Like the M&M that fell down like 3 years ago, and you're in your 10th year working.
When I was
there.
at the previous place I worked at, where I work now, which is like the sister location, it was just little dead bodies, 6-legged bodies, and just toenail clippings and dust, and just I was like, they don't pay me enough for this, and they didn't, so I left.
Yeah, so but the plus side is it's a great opportunity to take a nap underneath the desk. And somebody says, "Hey, are you all right out there?" "Yeah, I'm just moving some cabling around. I'm waiting for the network to come back in, and I'm testing this port." And so they walk away, and you can continue your nap. So I'm not saying I do that all the time, but yeah.
I've taken naps in my office. I just put paper over the little door.
Yeah,
the
but
window.
I'm talking about like going under a desk and moving some wires and plugging something that takes but 2 seconds to plug something in, and you make it out to be 30 or 40 minutes. Anyway. Anything else? But that's it.
Sidetracked me there.
I'm sorry. But yeah, all circling back, the Fringe FM, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be up and running, and you can catch us on there. So with the future holding out or looking forward, we are still looking at different things that are coming up, like Comic Palooza, Alien Con.
We might go see the robot competition.
Yes, that's
in person. Cover that live or record it or something.
If you've been listening for the past 6 weeks, we've been doing the promotion for First, and we have been invited to go to check out the competition, and we'll be reporting that. So we've been a big proponent of promoting First, because we like promoting things like that, and like STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I know there's another letter in there somewhere.
Science, technology, engineering, mathematics.
I know, but there someone said arts or something like that.
That's STEAM. STEM and STEAM.
Okay.
STEAM is when you add art into STEM.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought STEAM is when you put a tea kettle on the oven and...
When you say Steam now, I think games, PC games.
So on that magical note, we're at the bottom of the hour, so that means that we need to get to a break so that we can bring our guest in. And so, let's see here. I'm doing this, pushing that button. So I'm from another planet. I am indeed from another planet, and you are listening to Space Boy Universe on the SBU Network. We'll be right back after these messages. Mark your calendars. The Houston Mini Maker Faire will be at the George R. Brown Convention Center for a 2-day event on November 12th and 13th. Come join them and be a part of their growth story as they boost invention and creativity through the greater Houston area by developing a world-class exhibition. Stay tuned to the official Houston Mini Maker Faire website at www.houstonmakerfair.com to hear more insights about content, schedule, tickets, and maker exhibitor registration.
Hello Space Cadets. It is announcer Savannah. I want to tell you that as a dedicated member of the SBU team, you always want to look your best. Do it in a Spaceboy Universe t-shirt. Get yours at spaceboyuniverse.com by clicking the banner on the website.
This is author Jordan Root. You are listening to the Spaceboy Universe.
This is K28, and I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hi, y'all. This is Lori calling from Texas, and I love listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange, and you're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
This is Wendy. I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Hey, y'all. This is Lorelai DeLille. I listen to Spaceboy Universe. Don't you? Tell your mom and them I said hi.
The epic battle begins this Friday. Direct from ringside at Laser Death Melt Pit. Bot versus Bot in Galaxy's 2-ton weight championship, where your challenger, Good Bot, will face the reigning champion, Bad Bot.
You're terminated.
Reserve seating starting at $30. 2-drink minimum, where ladies don't get in free. This is an SBU production. You're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Explore the universe, spaceboyuniverse.com. Spaceboy. And Sirlana. Spaceboy, and Sirlana. Spaceboy, and Sirlana. Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sirlana on spaceboyuniverse.com.
Hey, Sirlana!
What?
If Spaceboy Universe was cheese, would you eat it? Come on now, it's a simple question.
Maybe.
SpaceboyUniverse.com. Techno, dance, atmospheric moods? Yes, my friends. My latest release, Digital, has something for everyone. Even makes a great gift for Grandma. Buy your digital download at spaceboymusic.com.
Greetings, Space Cadets. Let's see what's in the sky tonight in the Spaceboy Universe. Tonight, in the eastern sky, we have Spaceboy Universe rising above the horizon in glorious splendor. And in the west, we can see Solanus Majoris, which is visible at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, just below the K28 belt. So keep your eyes on the sky and listen to Spaceboy Universe.
Greetings everyone. You can catch Spaceboy Universe on every Saturday night at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. However, we know that you might not be able to catch the live show. That is why we have many places to listen to it on demand, like iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube and Spreaker. So take the universe with you wherever you go.
To call in, dial area code 713-7015-214. You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Sirlana.
Ken-Gerhard is a widely recognized cryptozoologist and field investigator for the Center for Fortean Zoology, as well as a fellow of the Pangea Institute and consultant for several research organizations. He has traveled the world searching for evidence of mysterious animals and legendary beasts, including Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, the Chupacabra, enigmatic winged creatures and werewolves. In addition to co-hosting the History Channel TV series Missing in Alaska, Ken has appeared in 3 episodes of the television series Monster Quest and is featured in the History Channel special The Real Wolfman, as well as other series including Ancient Aliens on the History Channel and many more, which are listed on his imdb.com page. He has also been on Coast to Coast AM and has many featured articles. Ken is an avid adventurer. He has camped along the Amazon, explored the Galapagos, hiked the Australian outback, and has visited many ancient mysterious sites from Machu Picchu to Stonehenge. And tonight, he is in our part of the universe. Please welcome ken-gerhard. Welcome, Ken.
Good evening, guys. Thank you so much for having me on this evening.
Well, like we said, we are jazzed to have you on tonight, and we are so appreciative of you taking the time out in your busy schedule to bless us with your presence.
Right. We know we don't have you for too long, but we're real grateful for your time. But before we get into it, I have one question I want to ask you before we get into you and your background. And you had a picture on your Facebook, I believe. It's like maybe your profile picture with an owl. I just wanted to know what the story is with the owl because I love owls.
Oh, yeah. Well, who doesn't? That was a Eurasian eagle owl, which is the largest known species of owl. They're beautiful. Very impressive birds. They have about a 5 or 6 foot wingspan. That particular owl belonged to a falconry group in Oklahoma that was, believe it or not, I spoke at a Harry Potter convention up there a couple of years ago. And they were there doing falconry, and, they had that beautiful owl, and I just asked if I could get a picture taken with it. And, they are very impressive birds up close, and I'm sure that it could break your arm with its powerful talons if it wanted to. But fortunately, I had a thick glove on, and it was very well behaved. So
awesome.
That's awesome. I figured there was a story there, and
well, Ken. I just lost something. Did you just kick the floor?
Nuh-uh.
Okay, that was weird.
Right. It just
went
real quiet.
Ken?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, we just had a weird little power blip. But anyway, let's get into the meat and potatoes, shall we? Your subject matter is quite interesting. I know that researching a little bit about you, we're about the same age. And one of the things that kind of stood out initially for me was I had heard you mention the program In Search Of, and I was a big fan of that as a kid, and it kind of sparked my interest in the subject matter of cryptozoology. And would you agree that was a kind of a fascinating show as well?
Oh, yeah. Very influential, I think, for a lot of researchers our age. That was a great time. We didn't, obviously, late 70s, we didn't have a lot of entertainment options, right?
We didn't.
there was no internet. You had radio and records and cassettes and 4 TV channels and the library. So, I really look forward to In Search Of every Saturday. Of course, I was already a Leonard Nimoy fan from Star Trek, but he was such a fantastic host, and I love the kind of cheesy synthesizer music they used back then, those analog synths.
Right.
And it's a great show, and I don't think they'll ever recapture that exact same spirit, but those were fun times.
So, based upon that, I know that might have been maybe one stone in many in the house of what got you interested in the subject. So could you elaborate a little bit beyond how you got started in the subject matter?
Yeah, it was about that same time period. I think I saw a news clip about Bigfoot on a Saturday morning, and this was probably about 1976, something like that, and I was completely enthralled. They were showing the plaster casts of alleged footprints of this giant hairy man-like beast that was running around in the wilderness of North America, and I think they showed a clip of the Patterson film, and I was just completely enthralled and immersed myself in the subject matter from that time on. Read every book I could find, and where I was very fortunate was that my mother was a travel agent, and she was very adventurous and started taking me on trips around the world. So we traveled to South America, the Amazon, Galapagos, Australia, Europe, Asia, Africa, anywhere you could imagine. And wherever we went, as a young boy growing up, I was always reading and researching legendary creatures in different places. So, and that culminated at age 15. When I was 15, my family vacationed at Loch Ness in Scotland, which of course is famous for the Loch Ness Monster, Nessie. And at that time, I attempted my first field research. I had a small 8mm movie camera that I carried with me around the lake and patrolled the lake trying to see the monster and get some footage. And I interviewed locals and different things. So it's just been a lifelong passion of mine.
So you pretty much dived in at the age of 15 to start doing research. That's fascinating. And from that point in time, I guess, well, let me backtrack a little bit. Were you living in Houston at the time with your mom and when she was doing the traveling as a travel agent?
I was actually growing up about 50 miles south of Houston in a town called Lake Jackson, which is down in Brazoria County.
Know it well. So, you get a chance to travel the world. You got to see some really great places in the world. Why did you come back to Texas? I know that's going to sound bizarre, a Texan myself asking that question. I kind of know what it means for me, but what does it mean for you to travel these places and then, come back to Texas and continue your research?
Well, it was obviously it's pretty obvious to answer that question. I came home because I had to, but not to sell Texas too short, because for example, where I grew up in Lake Jackson, it was kind of a very swampy area down there by Oyster Creek, lots of woods. I grew up kind of a rural area with lots of woods and swamps and creeks, and I used to have a good time kind of exploring out there. So I didn't know of any sightings of any strange creatures in that area at that time, but me and my friends, we'd go through the woods and we'd capture all kinds of critters, snakes and amphibians, and go exploring down the creek, and we'd see alligator gars and different things. So, that was kind of a fun upbringing, enjoying kind of the outdoors. Okay. I was just looking at Solana just to check to see if she might add a question. I didn't want to hog this conversation.
No, I was just, I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah. You, getting an idea of where you've been, what you've been doing as a young man. When does, I guess, the musician part of you come into play in all this? When
I was, I guess I was about 15 years old. I was a little bit of an outcast in my small town high school, as you might imagine, and kind of a different kind of kid. And I had other friends who were musicians. One was a guitar player, and he was very talented. And so we were kind of in this rebellious stage, and we decided we were going to form kind of a punk band at that time. He was the only one that could really play an instrument. But again, my mother was very encouraging, and she's a very artistic person herself, so she helped me purchase my first synthesizer. This was back in the mid-'80s, and we formed a little band there, and we're very successful in that area, playing all the high school dances and the occasional country roadhouse, which was always kind of a hoot because we were wearing eyeliner and stuff, and they would look at us funny when we walked in the door.
Thinking about the Blues Brothers when they went to the country western.
Yeah, it was very, very sad. You boys sure you're in a country band? Well, we're not really country, but we'll mix something in there. But that was it. And then so that kind of I guess that took all of my energy for several years. Subsequently I formed several bands and produced albums and helped run a record label and stuff, and was very lucky again, got to tour around the country and play with some amazing bands, opened up for Motley Crue and Oasis and some other bands. So, it was a fun time. But then I guess life goes in cycles, doesn't it? So about 2004, I was just kind of ran into the wall as far as the music went. I was getting burned out, and so the cryptozoology was there for me again. So I kind of immersed myself back into doing research and stuff, and that's kind of where I've been for the last 12 or 13 years right now.
Yeah, I can speak from experience. You go through these pendulums, if you will, where one moment you're hardcore into something, and then all of a sudden it's like Forrest Gump when he gets to a point where he's ran across the country 3 or 4 times, and it's like I'm ready to go home kind of thing. And it's very much like that. I guess let's see.
I was just curious, when you're still growing up and you're getting, like you said, you're 15, you're getting back interested in the cryptozoology, what was the first thing you started to do? Did you just do research on your own? Did you manage to get published, or did you see something, or that really took this off for you? And
that's a good question. I've never had a sighting. People always ask me that. I've been investigating for so many years, and I've never actually seen any of these things that I seek with my own eyes, so I can't say definitively they do exist. But I believe I've heard Bigfoot vocalize at least one time, very close range. That was kind of I was much older at that point. I guess when growing up, I was just mostly kind of a bookworm. So there were several epiphanies, but one that was kind of cool was that the little high school library in Lake Jackson, Texas, actually had a copy of a book called Abominable Snowmen, Legend Come to Life by Ivan Sanderson, which is the Bible of Bigfoot. It was written in the early 1960s. It's like a global look at the Yeti and Bigfoot. And that book was amazing. And I was really the only one in the high school that checked it out. Every time I'd open it up, the back, it was just my name, my name, my name, my name. But I was constantly reading that book and other books that I could get my hands on. And, I at that time I didn't really know of any sightings in my area or how to go about doing field research other than the occasional vacation that my family took. We went to Switzerland one time, and I was trekking through the Alps looking for something called the Tatzel worm. When we traveled to Australia, I was interested in something called the bunyip, which is kind of an Australian lake monster. So when we traveled, that was kind of my opportunity to be a little mini explorer, if you will. But back in Texas, I didn't really get into that until after my music career.
So, how did you develop? Did you get involved with a group, or was it just your own investigations that you started off with, researching these items?
That's a great question, because a lot of people ask me how to get into the field, and I did join a group. This was again after the music career was kind of going on to hold, and at that time the internet was kind of growing, and I found out there was actually a cryptozoology conference going on in Conroe, Texas, of all places, back in 2003. So I went to that particular conference organized by a fellow researcher named Chester Moore Jr., and that's where I met some other investigators. And I met a Bigfoot group, research group that I joined, and they took me under their wing. And so I began going out and doing the field work with those guys, traveling through the dark and swampy and often spooky bottomlands of Texas, East Texas at night, the Big Thicket and some of those areas out in East Texas. And that's when I began to see and experience things that I couldn't explain. But I was very fortunate to have other researchers there that kind of show me the ropes. So, I guess that's my message for anyone out there who's wondering, how would I get into doing something like this? There are a lot of really well-organized Bigfoot and other cryptozoology groups out there across the U.S. And, if you want to join like-minded people in these endeavors, that's a great way to kind of get your feet wet.
Yeah, it's great that the internet has come along at a time when it has, because before it was like there wasn't really a way to seek out like-minded individuals on the subject matter, and now on the internet it's like you have all these different groups and these meetups, and that make it much easier to find people to go research these particular things. Now, I know, based upon what I've read about you, is that you find yourself a skeptic, but you try to keep an open mind about things. How do you approach the subject matter with that?
Well, it's another great question because, a lot of people have a perception that cryptozoology and what we do is kind of an arm or a branch of the paranormal field, which is not really true at all. People often associate all this stuff together, but cryptozoology is a pursuit, a field that was started by two esteemed zoologists back in the 1950s and 60s, Bernard Heuvelmans and Edward Sanderson, who I mentioned earlier. And these guys wanted the field of cryptozoology to be a purely scientific endeavor, utilizing scientific methodologies, and therefore, it really is about being completely objective. So, you can't go into this field as a quote-unquote believer, saying, "Oh, I believe Bigfoot exists," without looking at the evidence objectively. And there is a lot of evidence, and you have to look at it, and you have to. So use critical thinking to determine. There's a lot of fakery that goes on out there. There are definitely hoaxes. There are people making up stories. There are people misidentifying known animals, attention seekers, and the like. And there's particularly in this day and age, there's a ton of just horrible fake videos and photographs out there circulating. So you can't just blindly accept and believe every extraordinary claim that you hear. So you really do have to look at the evidence. You have to be ready to explain things in logical ways first. And then, once you've exhausted, like Sherlock Holmes said, once you've exhausted the improbable or the impossible, then the improbable is all that's left. And then you can maybe start to consider some of these things. But you also have to be open-minded. So skepticism, I think, is truly the true definition of skepticism is to be completely open-minded and objective. I think people that tend to poo-poo and debunk a lot of this stuff aren't really skeptics so much as critics. And then I think there are people, unfortunately, who are believers, for lack of a better word, that really want this stuff to, want to believe that this stuff is real so much that they often, don't use critical thinking, and they aren't skeptical or objective.
Well, see, that's interesting. You said what's left is the impossible or the improbable. A lot of these creatures I would hear about, or I've done a little preliminary research on my own. They sound absolutely improbable or impossible, but they sound so cool. I wish they were real, and a lot of it is deeply woven into local folklore. Like I'm from Northwest Louisiana, but Louisiana is just rife with all kinds of insane myths and sightings. Like the one I didn't find anything on it, but I wish it was somewhat probable, was the half woman, half crawfish.
Oh, wow. That's a good one, yeah.
I don't know what it was called, but it was like, of course, this is deep South Louisiana, but what I thought was really interesting is when you said a possible explanation for some of these things that people have actually seen but maybe didn't identify correctly might have been legitimate mutations. And that's something I had never considered. But a mutation, you said, where it's not hindering the animal, they're actually working with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does happen. It's genetics, and sometimes you have weird exceptional individuals of known species, animals that are born with strange defects or atavisms, which are, kind of throwback traits or characteristics. Animals missing their hair often look very strange to us, particularly mammals, which we're used to seeing covered in fur and hair. So, yeah, that does happen. And, there's also people see things at night. They get fleeting glimpses of things, and sometimes their imagination fills in the blanks, and they don't accurately remember what it was that they saw, because everything happened so fast and the adrenaline was pumping and so forth.
And then we get those videos that are not that could be hoaxes, but that one that was in Louisiana at that camp at night of that weird white looking kind of humanoid, that was deeply unsettling. But you could also try to if you could try to debunk it, I don't know if that's something you're interested in, that, or you're just wanting to find the creature or not. I'm not a huge proponent of photographic evidence these days. I mean, I think 90
some percent of everything that people funnel to me is somehow faked or hoaxed. The two dynamics you have working there, which are both kind of pushing things in that direction. One is that people like the challenge, and have always liked the challenge of trying to pull the wool over other people's eyes. And you have a lot of technically gifted people out there with programs like Photoshop and stuff that probably challenge themselves. I wonder if I could, how good I could do a fake video or a fake photo of this or that or whatever. And, the other dynamic is that you have now a lot of people that are basically trying to make money online by funneling traffic to their website.
Clickbait.
And what a great way to do that, by having a sensational video of some kind of unknown creature so that you can get 1 million visits or hits or whatever. So I think those two things together make photographic evidence, virtually useless. I'm afraid to say in my particular field anyways. It was, of course, a different scenario completely when the Patterson Bigfoot film was made in 1967, and it was very hard to do special effects and costumes and things like that. But these days, there are a lot of clever fakes out there. So I don't really, again, scientific protocol, really demands really hard physical evidence, things that can be measured and analyzed on an examining table, as opposed to, something highly subjective like a photograph or a video.
Well, Ken, we're at the top of the hour, so let's take our top of the hour break. And when we come back, we'll talk more with Ken
Gerhard.
Sorry, I was a little
choked up.
Yeah, choked up.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana.
Hey, we're back, Space Cadets. Hey, remember on Twitter to hashtag Space Cadets and the hashtag SBU Universe with your pictures, your questions, and all that goodies. And, of course, if you're in the Spreaker chat room, you could always ask a question coming this way. I think you have a question, but before we get to that question, I just want to circle back here when we were talking about the skeptics and all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. What I find problematic, and I guess I kind of agree with you, Ken, is that there's so much material out there that people are producing, like Sherlana was saying, like for clickbait, to click this and to make it seem more outstanding, so you click it and it's really garbage. I really have a hard time with some of that, and then TV shows, incidentally, that promote things that sensationalize a topic and really don't bring the subject matter forward, or bring us thought-provoking ideas. And I just wanted to get your take. And I kind of already know where you're coming from on this, but if you could kind of elaborate on that too, to let our audience know, go from there.
Well, yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword because one good thing about a lot of these TV shows about cryptozoology, the paranormal, or whatever, is that it raises public awareness to some extent that there is phenomenon that that remains unexplained. Whether people choose to believe that it's actually happening or not, at least it creates the discussion, around the water cooler at work or whatever. The other thing is, and I don't want to come off as a hypocrite. I've appeared in 34 TV shows or something like that. I hosted a season of a TV show on History Channel. Often these things are give and take situations where, ultimately you have a network that's paying millions of dollars to produce a show, and they want people to watch it. So, and unfortunately, a lot of TV producers don't think that people are going to watch a show that is just a bunch of talking heads and information and stuff. So they try to interject a little bit of action, a little bit of excitement. Now, I've never willingly been involved in any show that faked any kind of evidence or did anything dishonest. My reputation and integrity is too important to me. But on the other hand, I have appeared on a couple of TV shows where, they did announce at the beginning of the show that there would be dramatic recreations and things. And sometimes we would, and these things really happen because, if you're walking through the woods at night, for example, even if you have a small camera crew with you and you hear something, you're looking for Bigfoot or whatever, and you hear something crash through the woods, sometimes you get a little bit excited, just for a moment. You're like, what was that? And of course, that's where they cut to commercial and make it kind of seem like it's more exciting than maybe it was, because you come back from the commercial and it's a rabbit or something running through the woods, But hopefully, people don't deem that as dishonest. It's a way to make a television show more entertaining, and that's why you see a lot of these shows where people are bumping around in the dark with night vision and stuff, and reacting to noises, because it interjects a little bit of fun and excitement to the show. But on the other hand, we try to put as much good information out there as possible. So when you're dealing with a particular subject, you're going to try to put the strongest evidence out there, the most objective opinion, and so forth. At least that's the way I've tried to approach it.
And I wanted to say real quick that, we've researched you, and we find nothing but genuosity coming from you. So we want to make it a point to our audience that we do not include you in the group that we're kind of looking at that promote sensationalism and that negative stereotype. But you generally come across as someone who wants to push the information out there and for people to make their decisions and make up their own mind, and we want to make sure that that's put out there.
Well, I appreciate it. And, without naming any names, there are a handful of shows out there that are just frankly ridiculous, where it's obviously actors with funny voices and colorful personalities running around and, encountering a monster at every turn. So that's not. I think most people at home that watch those shows understand that is strictly for entertainment, and they hopefully don't believe everything that's being presented to them.
Knock on wood.
In that vein, what is, let me get this said right, Sasquatch-exploitation?
Sasquatch exploitation?
Yeah.
It's a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, you've got me stumped there. I don't know if I'm actually familiar with that.
Well, I mean,
is this tying in kind of what we were talking about right now?
Exploitation
The
films.
exploitation of
of
Sasquatch.
Well, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, it's an iconic pop icon, right? The imagery is pretty cool. This big hairy ape man that lives in the woods. I think from a psychological perspective, it represents, it's important. The image of the wild man is important to, it has been important to human civilization for centuries and depicted in many stories and in artwork and different things. It kind of connects us to our primordial past, when millions of years ago our pre-human ancestors were essentially ape men running around the plains of Africa and elsewhere. And so I think in some way that, humans, it represents, Sasquatch or Bigfoot kind of represents the struggle for us to break away from those kind of bestial and primordial origins. I don't know, maybe I'm getting a little bit too deep there, but on the other hand, it's it's a great image. It's great imagery that sells products. So you have many entertaining movies. A Legend of Boggy Creek. I think we talked about.
Yes,
that was a classic. Movies.
Well, I
like that.
I like the really terrible unofficial sequel that was on Mystery Science Theater 3000. The Legend of Boggy Creek 2 continues. Yeah.
There were a couple of sequels to that, and then you also have, of course, commercials and things like the Jack Link Sasquatch and different things that people. It's fun. It's a fun topic, and sometimes we milk it for its entertainment value.
Is that why it's so popular? You think maybe that psychological tie to the past, overcoming that, or it's just a pop culture thing, or
it's like the unknown.
Are we looking for our missing link, or?
Yeah, probably a little bit of all that. I think you guys nailed it. It has to do with the fact that we're trying to either connect or distance ourselves from our prehistoric past, but it's also represents the unknown. It's a great iconic American mystery. It's just one of those things that may never, we don't feel will ever be solved. It's a modern mythology, and of course, humans, we need our mythology and folklore. It's an important part of who we are. So,
I was going to bring up, Ken, is since we were thinking of the Sasquatch exploitation thing, is do you recall now? Being in Texas in San Antonio, there was a while back. There was a gentleman who was carting around this freezer and showing a Sasquatch that he found, a dead Sasquatch, and it ended up being, I guess, a costume that they had put in a freezer. And I know. Go ahead.
No, that was a horrible black eye to the Bigfoot field. He who shall remain nameless has become a little bit of an adversary of mine. He of course did have a fake Bigfoot costume stuffed with possum entrails and other things. It was announced on CNN that the whole thing ultimately was a hoax, even though that people were waiting with bated breath there for a while back in 2009. Is this it? Did we really find one? The guy ultimately made a lot of money off of that, and then he perpetrated another hoax a few years later. And in this particular one, he claimed to have shot to death a Bigfoot in the woods behind a Home Depot out here in San Antonio. And the location was, I feel, a little bit of a shot at me, because prior to that, he had tried to enlist me to speak at an event he was organizing, to work with him in the field and different things, and I, basically rejected him. So, but the guy, the second time around, he made another $60,000 touring this fake Bigfoot body around the U.S. and charging people to look at it. So this guy has made, I do have to tip my hat to him. This guy has made far more money off of Bigfoot or Sasquatch than I could ever hope to have made. But unfortunately, it's it's in a way that is not it's not a good representation of the actual phenomenon, because there are many people who have seen these things, who have collected evidence, who have dedicated their lives to seeking evidence, and it is something to be taken seriously. I don't think people understand that there's a very strong argument to be made for the Sasquatch.
It's more plausible than a lot of the other ones that I've heard about.
Yeah, the crayfish woman. Yeah, I would put that in the implausible category.
But I want it to be true. Because it's too cool. But what is your take on the recent review? There's been like a real big scrutiny of the Patterson film that they say shows a baby Sasquatch.
Yeah, multiple Bigfoots.
Yeah, my opinion of that, it's an amazing, iconic piece of footage all these years later. I think there are some people that are maybe looking at it a little bit too much, and they need to walk away. That's basically all I'm going to say about that. It's almost becoming obsessed with the footage. It's like the Zapruder film of cryptozoology. And now, if you look at the original clip, which was filmed on a 16 millimeter movie camera back in October of 1967. The footage is very shaky. The guy is running. The filmer, Roger Patterson, was running towards the subject, which was like 100 yards away. And he was tripping over logs and things, and he was having a tough time steadying the camera for a good chunk of the footage. It was about a minute of footage in total, and the subject's very far away, and it's walking away fast. And if you look at the original footage, it's actually, the subject is very tiny. So all of the recreations and stabilizations you've seen, the subject has been enlarged in the film. But I just don't think, even with really high quality, and most of what we're seeing these days are second, third generation prints of that original footage anyways. But for people that have obtained first, second generation copies or copied the first generation, made second generation copies, and have done a lot of analysis on the film, have seen things that seem to indicate that it is a real biological subject, not a man in a costume. But as far as, seeing other things, people hiding, other Sasquatches in the woods and baby Sasquatches and things like that, I've watched the film enough, and I've never seen anything like that. I think people perhaps are reading a little bit too much into it. And again, it's been analyzed so much, but, I just don't know how much more we can analyze it. It's not conclusive at this point.
Okay. Well, it's kind of switching gears a little bit. So, your book, Monsters of Texas, how did you get hooked up with Nick Redfern?
Oh, well, Nick Redfern and I met. Nick is from England originally, but he moved to Texas, met a Texas gal, and they got married back in the early part of this century. And I bumped into Nick at a cryptozoology conference, one of the early ones that I was telling you guys about, early 2000s. I think it was probably in Conroe, Texas. We hit it off right away. He was an author, and he had some interesting books that he'd already written at that point. Really known more in the UFO field, but he was starting to get into cryptozoology. And in particular, he had a copy of a book on his table called The Owl Man, and it's the Owl Man is a kind of a weird creature that's similar to the Mothman that we have over here, but it's been reported in England and very obscure, and I had to buy that book, and I was like, wow, anyone who's got a book about the Owl Man on his table here has got to be a cool guy. But Nick and I have formed a fast friendship, and we've been very close for many years. We worked in the field, we've done road trips together, conferences, we visit on a regular basis, and he's just an amazing guy, very brilliant. We have a lot of interest in terms of, he comes from a punk music background, and we like a lot of the same kind of music. And that's pretty much it, man. He's just been a real inspiration for me. And so when we decided in 2009 to write this book together before someone else came up with the idea. We're both here in Texas, and it's a big state. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's work on a book Texas certainly has a lot to offer in terms of creature legends and monsters and different things. So,
well, speaking of some of those monsters, we're kind of interested to hear a few of them. Like, for example, the Bear King of Marble Falls.
Bear King.
Is it bear or beer?
Bear King.
Bear King.
I don't think it's a giant beard wandering around.
Well, my apologies, getting tongue-tied again. I mean, we are talking to the Ken, so I'm a little excited.
Okay.
But anyway, all seriousness, the Bear King of Marble Falls. What can you tell us about that?
Wow. Is that one in the book? Actually, because I have to admit, it's not really, that one doesn't really strike a bell, but I mean, there's so many.
Donkey
I mean, if
Lady?
it's in the book, I'm going to feel.
I was going to say,
feel foolish. But
well, I know that at least the Donkey Lady of San Antonio should be in there.
Oh yeah. I've investigated Donkey Lady. There's a bridge on the south side of San Antonio. San Antonio is a fabulous city in terms of lots of weird stories and legends and fringe subjects, which is one of the reasons I moved out here. But there's a bridge on the south side of town. Called Donkey Lady Bridge, and it's kind of a spooky old stone bridge. And like many spooky old stone bridges around the U.S., it has a kind of an urban legend surrounding it. And this figure known as the Donkey Lady, and there's different stories about how this Donkey Lady came to be, that she was born deformed or that she was burned in a horrible house fire and became deformed. But anyways, she supposedly lives in the woods, or her spirit lives in the woods by this bridge. And if you go out to this particular area at night and call out her name 3 times, she will supposedly, you'll either hear hoofbeats in the woods around you as Donkey Lady circles around you, or she'll appear. And apparently years ago there was also a phone number you could call, and teenagers would get their thrills by calling this Donkey Lady phone number, and then you would hear the clip-clop on the other side of the phone. So many different aspects to the mystery, but it's kind of a fun story.
I do recall that living in San Antonio, that story, and of course that one and the bus where it was supposedly I guess a railroad tracks that if you pause for a second or just put it in neutral, that supposedly whatever spirits push your car past the railroad tracks so that you don't.
That's
stall
an urban
out.
legend, huh?
Well, it's a very popular one in San Antonio, and I remember that as a teenager. So, but yeah, most definitely. Now, speaking of Houston, because that's where we're at, Space City, you do bring up the Houston Batman.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that one.
The Houston Batman a few times in a couple of my books, and I actually did I think Eyewitness News did a story on the Houston Batman a couple of years ago. You may be able to find that online, but we did a Halloween. It was kind of fun. They came out and interviewed me for Halloween. But back in June of 1953, in the Houston Heights neighborhood, just north of downtown there, a woman named Hilda Walker was sitting on her porch at night about 2 o'clock in the morning with 2 of her neighbors, and a young lady and a gentleman. And according to all of them, they saw a shadow, moving across the lawn, a large shadow. And when the shadow seemed to stop, and something landed in the branch of a large pecan tree. And when they looked up at this tree on the branch, they could see this figure. According to them, they could see a figure of a very tall man. The weird thing is that he had a wing. Some kind of wings pressed against his body, and he also was wearing kind of a paramilitary uniform with a helmet and boots and a cape, and also that he was glowing, and he was emitting a dull glow. And they watched this figure kind of rock back and forth on the branch of the tree, and after several minutes, the young lady screamed out, and the light began to dim, and the figure vanished. And a few minutes later, according to the witnesses, a torpedo-shaped object shot off into the sky from across the street. So Hilda was basically freaked out enough that she went to the Houston police the next morning and filed a report, and subsequently that story appeared in the Houston Chronicle newspaper. And so the only known sighting of the Houston Batman, as he became known, I guess that was kind of media newspaper name that they dubbed, probably associated with UFO activity, since you have this shooting torpedo object firing into the sky. I think in Monsters of Texas, I mentioned the fact that I had some friends that worked at the Bel Air, old Bel Air movie theater years ago, and they claimed that they were downtown back in the 1980s, downtown Houston, and that they saw this figure of a gigantic man wearing a helmet lurking on some of the rooftops of the buildings, and they could see him crouching down and stuff. So I don't know if that was the Houston Batman or not, but perhaps the only other sighting of the Houston Batman, or something that sounds like the Houston Batman, that I've ever heard of.
It's strange that you'd see something crazy like that in an urban environment. Like, there should be plenty of witnesses.
Or, if somebody just as a glance, oh, that's a gargoyle, or or something like that. But it's fascinating to think that there's strangeness like that out there.
What about somebody reported a Bigfoot type creature in the middle, like Hershey Park, which is it's a park, but the parks are still surrounded by urban sprawl. I mean, do they just they live wherever they can get, or?
Well, yeah, those stories are kind of weird. You run across those, not too often, but in my new book, A Menagerie of Mysterious Beasts, I write about this Bigfoot sighting out there in Hershey Park. And I interviewed the couple who saw this thing, and they said it was pretty traumatic. It was this big, tall, hairy thing with big black eyes, and it didn't run like a human. I don't know really what to make of those types of stories. I guess the one thing I would point out is that many of our urban areas actually lie kind of on the fringe of vast wilderness areas as well. So sometimes it's hard for us to keep that in perspective. But you have expanding urban and suburban areas, but a lot of times the wilderness comes up rather quickly, kind of on the fringe of those particular areas. And so I guess the assumption would be that Bigfoot or Sasquatch, whatever they are, perhaps sometimes they are nomadic and they're traveling around and scavenging or what have you, and maybe they occasionally do pass through kind of some of these fringe areas on the outskirts of urban metropolitan areas, and we don't hear about that too often, but I guess it's a possibility.
Well, I know that in one of your speeches that you gave, that you talked about living in San Antonio, and I do recall this firsthand, that San Antonio is pretty much on the edge of the frontier, and you get a lot of deer that come in and out, and in fact, we were having a trip where we came back from California, and we were stopping in Fredericksburg, and as I was getting off the feeder, and it was late at night, there was a pack of deer right in front of us out of nowhere, and it was just really surreal. Do you remember that, Sir Lana? We were heading...
I have no memory of that. Do I have missing time?
You got to... Remember, it was like I had been driving 90 to get home, and I said, I just can't make it. We got to stop for the night. And we pulled off at Fredericksburg, and I had slowed down to 20 miles an hour for some bizarre reason. And then all of a sudden, here's this pack of deer, a good 20 deer in front of us, and then they slowly moved off, and we went on our merry way. But that was... I can identify with the fact of...
They're totally acclimated to seeing cars.
As the urban environment spreads out, we encroach on this environment, and I guess deer...
They were here first.
And then you have bear. There I go again. Bear. I haven't taken my Gene Hackman pills yet. So
you seen a bear creature lately? No.
Bear, and all that good stuff. So I'm just agreeing with you there. So
I've seen plenty of deer running through the Walmart parking lot, but I've seen coyotes right down the street from my house. I live in San Antonio, and mountain lions. We had some mountain lion sightings on the edge of town recently. So yeah, you're right. The wilderness is shrinking, and animals are coming closer to humanity.
We have a coyote coming down our street like he's casing the houses to rob, and I mean we're right off of Beltway 8, which is right in the middle industrial.
Right behind us, not too far of us, is the Addicks Reservoir. And so there's a lot of wildlife that exists in there. And
but you don't know it because you don't see it in the day, and you don't go out there, and you don't encounter it until like after dark. And I didn't even know this till we started looking for our dog, and we started hearing the howling. And I had never heard it before. I was like, that sent a chill down my spine.
Mm-hmm. So that leads us to other things. For example, cases that you've worked on. In fact, you've been on many TV shows. During your investigations, or if you were out in the field or coming across subject matter, what good stories that got left on the editing floor that you can tell us and our audience?
Boy, that's a good question. I wasn't really. There's so many that I probably am not going to remember. But for example, I did a show for the paranormal. What was the name? It was called Paranatural. Unexplained Files. I'm sorry, Unexplained Files. It was on one of the networks a couple years ago, and we went down to Mexico to investigate these goat killings that these goat farmers in southern Mexico, and of course everyone was talking about the Chupacabra. That this blood-sucking vampire-like creature was coming in and drinking the blood of their goats at night, and it was supernatural and different things. And I had a good time, but like for example, we met the first group of goat farmers we went out to go see, really rural, very, very colorful guys. And, they're drinking like mescaline at 10 in the morning, and I'm thinking, boy, I don't know if I'm getting a really credible vibe off of these guys. And of course, the first thing I had been told was that, that they had found all these goats that had been killed, and they were completely drained of their blood. And then, I'm shown some photographs that the investigating police had taken, and there's blood everywhere. There's these giant bloody corpses with bloody gashes, and I thought, okay, this is not really accurate. But what you learn is that people, particularly in countries like Mexico, that people tend to be more traditional in their belief systems, and that they have a completely different view of the world than other people do. Perhaps in the United States, they're often very superstitious and very religious, and they view the world through a kind of a different filter than we do. So to them, this was a completely supernatural situation, and there were evil forces at work, so to speak. We were shown the body of a dead animal in a large jar that people were, in another village were calling a Chupacabra, and they were so scared of this monstrosity that they turned this thing over to the local priest who was keeping it at the church. Some kind of, Chupacabra demon. They thought it was a baby Chupacabra. Well, as soon as I was shown the jar, I could immediately tell it was a deformed baby goat that basically had extra limbs and a deformed skull. And it had little hoofs. And I told them, it's a baby goat. It's an artiodactyl. And we took the priest to a local university and had a forensic veterinarian study it. And he said the same thing. And even after that, the priest, and give him credit for playing along, but he wasn't going to have any of that. No, it is the Chupacabra. No goat, Chupacabra. So there was no changing his mind, And then as we were culminating that particular episode, the producers, we were shooting the last scene and said, okay, we need you to say that these killings could have only been done by the Chupacabra. And I told them, well, I'm not going to say that. You're not. Why aren't you going to say that? I said, because I don't think it was the Chupacabra. I think there's another explanation, and that's what I'm leaning towards. So that was kind of a tense moment because, they weren't going to get the shot that they wanted, but we compromised, and I ultimately I provided my theory unedited, and then I also mentioned, and if something like the Chupacabra does exist, then perhaps, this is, this could be another possible explanation. So I guess, that's one of the little compromises that we were talking about earlier. One other quick kind of funny story. Another Chupacabra episode I was filming with another TV group out here in Central Texas, and it was a British TV crew. And they're always a lot of fun to work with, the Brits and the different European crews. We're out here on a Texas ranch eating barbecue and, shooting this these Chupacabra scenes on this cattle ranch. And after we had wrapped filming for the end of the night, one of the ranchers, who's a friend of mine, came out with this AR-15 assault rifle with a night vision scope. And just for fun, we decided to start shooting it at some targets. And all of these Brits, the whole film crew was lining up because none of them had ever, had even shot a gun. They're from England. They don't have guns there, and it was like they were posing with this AR-15 like Rambo and, don't let my wife see this photo or whatever, and it was a hoot seeing all these British guys firing this assault rifle with a night vision scope. They're kind of like Welcome to Texas, right? So, a lot of fun things like that happen kind of off screen, and they, obviously they don't always make it, into the final cut.
Well, Ken, we're at the bottom of the hour, so let's take that break. And when we come back, we'll be talking with ken-gerhard, and we'll hopefully take some calls here. And so don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. You're listening to Space Boy Universe, and I'm your host, Space Boy. And who are you?
Oh, Sir Lana.
Yeah, and we're talking to ken-gerhard. And Ken, we have you for a little bit more time. We've opened up our phone lines. And just a little reminder, audience, the phone number is 844-734-7286. That's 844-734-SBUN. So if you want to call in with a question, we have Ken for just a few more minutes. But if you can make it in, we'll be glad to patch you through. So go ahead.
Ken, do you have a favorite cryptid?
Well, that's a tough question because I have many that are near and dear to my heart. But I think what I'm known most for in the field is my research into giant birds known as thunderbirds. Thunderbirds is a Native American perspective. But here in Texas, believe it or not, we are one of the leading locations for sightings of these giant birds. And when I say giant, I mean like wingspans. Described wingspans ranging from 12 or 15 to over 20 feet across. So, 5 times larger than the biggest eagle, twice as big as a condor. So just purely monstrous birds, typically described as having completely dark feathers, a hooked beak like a vulture or an eagle, and just big and scary and prehistoric looking. And so I investigate and collect a lot of reports of these giant birds, thunderbirds, from around North America.
Now, you've traveled into other countries, especially Australia. Now, Australia intimidates me just for the sheer fact of the actual creatures it has that will kill you.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What were some of your adventures in Australia? I mean, that didn't necessarily have to be cryptid related, but you must have a story.
Well, I got to climb Ayers Rock, which is an iconic giant rock. It's not a mountain. It's actually just a big rock, one solid piece of stone that's out in the middle of the desert, and it changes colors at sunset and sunrise. And, of course, the Aboriginal people revere it and idolize it. So that was kind of fun, spending a whole day climbing that rock and getting to the top. There was a funny moment. We were taking a bus tour across the desert, and I remember that about 3 o'clock in the morning, everyone's asleep on the bus, and suddenly the bus driver pulls over to the side of the road in the middle of nowhere, gets out this giant tea kettle and begins to build a fire out of driftwood and starts making tea. And all of these Australian people wake up from a deep sleep, and it's tea time! Mm-hmm. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, they're all standing around a fire in the desert drinking tea. And I thought, wow, these Brits, and of course Nick's my friend, and he drinks a lot of tea. So I've learned that, tea is not to be messed around with when you're talking to British or Australian people. They have to have their tea.
That's their English roots in Australia.
Yes, so that was kind of funny.
Hot tea, and of course as a Southerner, my sweet iced tea. So I'd probably fit in with that crowd.
That just reminded me of Dr. Pepper, 10, 2, and 4.
Yeah. That's an old one.
Yeah. So anyway.
I like, tea time. You don't mess around. But when they say to have their tea, they also kind of mean dinner as well in English.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I should say they love Texans over there, at least where I was at. When they found out we were from Texas, we were like their best friends. They feel a real kinship, the Australians do, particularly in the the open outback territory where they live on ranches and stuff. They kind of view themselves as kind of our Texans down under, so to speak.
I've had the same conversation with Sir Lana not too long ago that Australians look at us as their brothers and sisters because Texas is very much like Australia in a lot of ways.
They got deserty parts and
yes, so
killer snakes and whatnot.
Yep, killer snakes and desert.
We do have a phone call for you, Ken. Are you there, caller?
Yes, I am.
Right.
And who is
Michelle.
this? Hey, Michelle, how are you?
You've got a question for him?
Good. I've been asking a question all night.
Well, go ahead.
I'm getting feedback.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Back in 2002, Ken, I live in Nova Scotia, Canada. Okay. And back in, I think it's 2002. It may have been 2003, but it was, anyway, very close to there. We had a sea monster wash up on shore. Now, I have a friend that was a reporter, and she was late with her last deadline, so her and I beelined to it when we heard about it. So I seen it when it was fresh out of the water, no more than 8 hours, summertime. This thing was intact. The best way to describe it was like a long-necked dinosaur with flippers. Huge. I've seen washed-up whales before. This thing was huge. The government, a week later, when it's decomposed, says that it's a whale. But did you ever hear anything about that?
And I'm sorry, did you say it was in Nova Scotia or Newfoundland?
Nova Scotia.
Okay, I think I remember that particular incident. That's a great question, by the way, Michelle. Okay, so I should point out there are these things called globsters. That's a colorful term that cryptozoologists use. Globsters are huge rotting masses of organic material that wash up on beaches around the world. And there have been many famous ones, probably the most famous, the Orkney beast back in the early 1800s. I don't remember the official finding on the one you're talking about. I do remember seeing pictures of it, and I think there was a TV show that I appeared on where they talked about it. There are virtually all the globsters, as far as I know, have been explained in one of two ways. One is they are often found to be huge rotting masses of whale collagen, like you said, whale protein, because whales are massive animals and they don't often decompose very fast. And you can imagine this giant mass of fat floating around in the ocean, and it looks very fibrous. It almost has a hairy kind of look to it because of the tissue breaking down, and it's not recognizable as a whale carcass when it washes up on a beach. So that's one possible explanation. The other is basking sharks. Basking sharks are very large filter-feeding sharks. The second largest species of shark. They can be 40 feet long. And what happens with basking sharks, is that when they die in the ocean and they begin to decompose, all of their tissue, the gill tissues and the lower part of their face drops away. And what you're left with is a tiny little skull with a long neck and then a large body with 4 flippers and what looks like a long tail. And it looks very much identical, almost identical to something called a plesiosaur, which is a primitive, prehistoric reptile that a lot of people think the Loch Ness Monster is, this long-necked reptile that lives in the water. And it has happened several times where these rotting basking sharks have washed up on the shore, and they look like, I swear to God, you look at them, they have a tiny head, a long neck. They do not look anything like a shark. And those are the two pragmatic explanations. But honestly, I can't, since I don't have the photographs in front of me or the evidence or the findings, I can't really give you a definitive evidence that it was either one of those two things. But in all likelihood, it may have been. And it's just one of those things in nature where things can sometimes look very unfamiliar to us. And I've encountered this a lot where animals have been found that have been decomposing and rotting, and they look very different. You know, sometimes they're bloated, sometimes they're losing their hair, and you can't often identify things, for what they really are. You have to look at them a little bit more critically. Yeah, and I can understand that, but you see, Nova Scotia is a peninsula. Nova Scotia is a peninsula, correct? And we get 3-4 washed up whales a year, okay? We see these things commonly. I've seen them. This did not match any of that. And its head was not tiny. Okay, well, actually, I apparently do not know that, and I'm not questioning what you're saying. I will end my statement by saying that I believe that there are very large undiscovered animals in the deep oceans of the world. I think there's amazing potential there for a number of undiscovered animal species, some of them very large. You consider that 3/4 of the Earth's land surface is covered by deep ocean that averages 12,000 feet deep. There are some trenches in the oceans that are 27 or 30,000 feet deep. So yes, there could be literally anything down there. Exactly.
But I stand by what I say. That's what it was. And a week later, when marine biologists came and looked at it, it was rotting because it was summertime. You know, and it doesn't take long for an animal to decompose once it hits the air, but I seen it less than 8 hours after it got out of water.
Well, I wish I could see a good photograph of that. Would be very useful. I don't know if you would be able to obtain one or send me a link or something, but that would be fabulous.
Nova Scotia is like 20 years behind everybody else. So in 2002, we didn't have a whole lot when it came to internet, you know, online. But I think I have newspaper clippings to it.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Michelle. That's a fascinating story. You know, again, the possibilities are endless in terms of real life sea monsters living in the deep oceans. Things that we don't see very often.
Yeah, Michelle, that is fascinating. And once again, we appreciate you calling Spaceboy Universe, and you know we love you to death from Texas.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, sweetie. All right. So, Ken, I know that we've kind of stretched it to the 15-minute mark. This is the part where I would like you to go ahead and plug whatever you need to plug, because that's what we like to do is you come on. It's at the very least we can do is, put the information out for our audience so that they can follow up with you.
Well, thank you, guys. And, I'd like to thank you again for inviting me to be on your show. I had a great time. Wonderful interview. It was a lot of fun. Thank you to everyone who listened in and everyone in the chat room. I really appreciate your interaction, and I've been looking at your comments, and hopefully we can do it again real soon. I do have a new book out. If anyone out there is interested in cryptozoology, the book is called A Menagerie of Mysterious Beasts. It's available, of course, on Amazon and other online book retailers. You can find it at most Barnes & Noble locations in the metaphysical section. And it is a book that spans many years and covers my investigations into a huge range of diverse creatures. Many of them we talked about: Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the Chupacabra, the lake monsters, mysterious black cats, even like some really esoteric things like giant house cat-sized spiders and bugs and frogs and things like that. So, again, very proud of the book, and I encourage people to go out there and check that out. I also have a website. It's ken-gerhard.com. People can reach me on Facebook, Ken Gerhard Cryptozoologist. And, I'm going to check out Missing in Alaska, which is the TV show I made for the History Channel. It's kind of in syndication right now around the world, but you can go to the History Channel website, and if you type in Missing Alaska, you can watch some links to some of the episodes as well.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Well, Ken, once again, like I said, we appreciate you stopping by Spaceboy Universe tonight. If you're ever in Houston. Yeah, if you're ever in Houston, and just let us know you're coming this way. We could probably do some lunch or dinner or whatever. Or if we're in San Antonio, we would give you a call and see if you want to do the same in reciprocal.
That sounds awesome. I'd love to meet you guys.
All right, Ken. Well, everyone, that was Ken Gerhard. And don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick musical break. And when we come back, we'll open the lines again. Take your calls. You can comment about what we've talked about tonight. Or if you just are off your rockers, then you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. So don't touch that dial.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana.
All right, let's explore, shall we? Woohoo! That was a great show. Great show. Tonight's a great show. I'm glad that you're tuned in and you're listening to this great show. And as I was talking about earlier in our banter talk, that the universe will be expanding. We'll be coming to Fringe FM. Yes, that's right, Fringe FM. And what that means is, as earlier as we discussed, the show will probably start an hour early, and you'll still get the 3 hours of content that you've been getting for over a year and a half now from Spaceboy Universe. And Sir Lana's looking at me squirrely.
Did you, just get boosted on a bunch of caffeine or something? I mean... Oh...
I had to pick up my shirt. I'm wearing a Mario, it's a mushroom, and you know what they say about mushrooms. So, anyway...
It's just like the yin and yang thing. The more up and hyper you are, the more I just want to go crawl under a rock and die.
Do not make me laugh while I'm drinking water.
Yeah. I want to go to Carlsbad Cavern someday.
Well, I'm worried about going to Carlsbad Cavern because, of all the... after the Dulcie thing that or Phil Schneider, I'm freaked out to go into any kind of cave.
Nah, bring it on.
There are caves in San Antonio, speaking of which.
Yeah, I'd go there too.
I can't remember the names off the top of my head.
Well, they start, don't they start before San Antonio?
Natural Bridge Caverns or something like that.
Yeah, but in, not like Fredericksburg, but all those German-sounding towns on the way there and between here and there.
Well, there were a lot of Germans that did colonize Texas in the early years. So that's where you get Fredericksburg and all that. And, you get Tejano music with the accordion stuff. That's why, with the polka, you get Tejano bands that will go to Germany.
Because they're all using the same instruments.
And the Germans are just, they love it. They eat it up.
Polka, Cajun, and Tejano. All of that accordion. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a fun night.
Well, in all fairness, you get some German settling in Louisiana too.
In New Orleans, you've got
the Zydeco.
You've got predominantly French, but of course the German and the Spanish. So it's a true melting pot there.
Right.
With all that background, but it is definitely French Catholic, and that is why Louisiana is divided up into parishes and not counties.
Counties, like here it is in Texas.
Or as my sister says, no, they're all in my neighbor's backyard.
So there's a little brief musical interlude or knowledge base on accordion music and German settling here in the Louisiana,
all
Texas.
All the stuff you didn't want to know.
Yeah. Now you know. Do, 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 do. So where do we take this adventure now to, sir?
Well, this is called the unscripted part.
Yes, this is the unscripted. Our phone lines are still open.
They're still open.
And it doesn't charge a nickel to you because when you dial that 844-734-7286, it's a toll-free number. We pick up the tab so that we can hear you talk to us. And that's how usually we roll. And what are some of the things going on in the chat room, Solana?
Oh, I saw something earlier. Texas is large, everything.
Well, that
is not because you perish there. I swear, K-28.
but
K-28, you're going to have to stay after class.
It is true. Texas has large everything, yeah. So, like my waistline, that was... Especially after eating that big jumbo Big Mac thing I just had.
Well, you did that to yourself.
Well, when I really want to do something to myself, I go to Taco Bell. And that just that's poor life decisions.
Well, I saw this thing earlier. This guy has created an artificial intelligence using something that Google has developed, like an API Google developed.
Right.
And you go up to this keyboard, like piano keyboard, and you can just bang on it or create a chord or, hit a few keys, and it will come back and try to finish the melody or whatever it is you're trying to do, and it's not using it pre-programmed. It's actually learning from a database it has, and it's really fascinating. I watched the video on how this man created it. So it's a virtual pianist that you're playing with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a real-time back and forth. So basically, you're having a duet with a robot. I just thought that was really interesting, and the way the guy programmed it. It's not. He says, normally if you would go to approach this, you'd have to say, okay, well, somebody types in a C major, maybe comeback would go up to a G. Mm-hmm. He says, well, that's not what it is. They went ahead and put in all the different combinations in and then let the computer figure it out.
Figure it out for itself?
Yeah, if you understand that way.
Yeah, I can see that. That's kind of cool. I'm kind of sad to see maybe computer. I was going to say I was sad that computers are replacing musicians, but not really. I mean, it's just I guess an extension of playing music in general. It reminds me of Star Trek when Data was doing a concert in 10 Forward, mm-hmm. and he basically being an artificial life form, created a style based upon 3 different musician types. And so I don't think that I'm too saddened by it. I'm really looking forward to the day that I could put a cap on me and compose music by just thought. Mm-hmm. That intrigues me, is to be able to get to a point where I can think it and then create
it compose?
And then and create. So I mean, that intrigues me. That kind of goes to the marriage of technology and the biological, which a lot of people, depending on how you look at it, like Elon
Musk?
Yeah, thank you.
Elon Musk?
Elon Musk, thank you. He's saying that either you're going to have to become a Borg or you're just going to become irrelevant. I mean, that man...
I don't like that thought.
He freaks me out. He looks like an alien, to be honest with you.
You sure you're not getting your two guys mixed up?
And I really think that if he reaches his finger up and he says, and it starts to glow, then I'm going to freak out, like E.T.
Okay.
Well, don't you remember in E.T., his finger would light up and, he would heal stuff and whatever? You're shaking your head over there.
I don't want to go there.
Well, anyway, so, but yeah, he does freak me out. I mean, I think it's cool that he's got the solar panel stuff going. He's got the electric car thing going, but sometimes. Oh, and did I forget rockets? Sending stuff up into space. I don't know. He just strikes me as odd.
Oh gosh! Don't start playing this video.
What video? What are you doing watching videos over there?
I'm trying to find content.
Oh. Has anybody called? Somebody could actually call us and make this more interesting. Roundtable's discussion of something. Oh, did you find something?
No.
Well, dear, I can't just keep doing the jibber jabber all night long.
Yeah, you can.
People think
You've done it before.
People think I'm on crack or something right now.
Please, we're the most boring. When's the last time we had alcohol? Like 6 months ago?
I don't even.
August.
I don't even recall.
It was August.
Wait, you had alcohol?
I had alcohol. You didn't have alcohol.
I mean, the last time I can think I had a drink of some kind.
I was with your aunt.
Was it? Oh,
your aunt and uncle.
I think it was when I worked for that other company and we went to the.
You had it. That's over a year ago.
Wow,
that's how boring we are.
It's been that long since I've had any kind of tasty beverage like that.
Yeah, we don't inhale anything. We don't, have any interesting brownies.
Now,
we're pretty boring.
I could tell you that the 90s were very interesting to me, but then Solana would blame me for like holding secrets out.
Oh, thank God. Caller, are you there? Please tell me you're there.
Please.
Yes, I'm here.
And who is this caller?
This is Jeannie.
Hey, it's his sister.
I thought the 832 number was suspicious.
Well, this is a pity call.
Uh-oh.
Thank you for pitying me.
Well, nobody was calling, so I thought, well, I'll call, but I have absolutely nothing to say.
That doesn't stop people from calling into shows.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll just talk about how much I love you guys and how wonderful you are, and how you have great listeners and you have great space cadets to follow you. They're all sweet and nice.
And it's not because we're related.
No, not at all. I mean, I barely know Space Boy. I mean, until the show, I barely heard him say 2 sentences. So.
Well, he did a lot today. He did really well today because I'm really off my game. I stayed
I'm
home.
very proud of him.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate. I do talk. I mean, but I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes that nobody sees.
He is doing a lot of technical stuff to keep the show running and doing the commercials.
Being optimal, and then it's like I tell everybody is that, and I'm sure you can identify with this, is that it's always fascinating for me to hear Sorlana's perspective on things, because it's like she's not heard it before, or it's new to her, and then whatever.
What I'm hearing from that is I already know all this, so I don't have to do anything.
Well,
that is not true.
See, this is what's so good about you two, is because you get along really well and you have a lot in common, but you also have a lot of things that are opposite, and so you get her perspective and you get his. And so, yeah, that's what makes it interesting.
Well, let me put you on the spot, since you do know me.
Okay.
Being my sister, did you ever think I'd ever do anything like this? I mean, this is pretty insane for me.
Oh, hell no.
And this is not. I don't like.
I mean, I know that you love your husband, but I sense that Leanne has something to do with this.
She only has something to do with this in that...
talk you into it.
No. The only reason she's got something to do with this is the fact that I'm married to him. That's the only thing she's got. I went out with him on a dare to shut her up, because she says, if you don't go out on at least one day, it's going to blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, I did it.
Sounds like her.
I went, I shut her up, and the next thing I know, he's asking me on the second date, and here we are. But he suckered me into this. He said he wanted to do a podcast, and he wanted to do a little test pilot with me, and so we did one talking about whatever.
Well, the joke's on him, because you've become a very good producer, and if he's not careful, you don't need him.
Well, I would like to have
Ed, look at the time. It looks like I've got
it. I would like to have my own show where I get to talk about, Jane Austen things, but nobody would listen to that. So.
Well, there's no reason why you can't do that.
Whenever you
want. There's plenty of days in a week that he's not broadcasting, although not that many, but there's a few days he's left open.
Don't let her fool you. She's been offered to do that, but she just chooses not to.
Well, I don't know if this is going to put people off. Can I talk about March 4th?
I'm looking at the calendar here, March 4th. Well, we're shifting gears in March, so go ahead and...
Well, March 4th will be a good show, because we're going to talk about Great Women of History, Volume 1. So that should be...
Oh, really?
That should be interesting. We're, because we do cover history, technology, pop culture, music, and fringe science. It's just sometimes the fringe gets scheduled...
See,
that.
Catalina's saying right now, a chick show would be fun. You could definitely do it.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at it. Do it this way.
I'd have to have a co-host.
You would have your own show. I have Space Boy Music, which is my own show, and then Space Boy Universe is our joint show where we explore the universe.
How could I do it in secret? Nobody would know about it.
It doesn't work that way. That's how I roped you into this.
You could change your name, but then you won't have the name recognition to bring people in.
Mm-hmm.
So from a marketing standpoint, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, so maybe so, but
back me up on that.
I just, I don't know. I was telling him, I don't know who I am anymore since I started doing this show, because this is not me. You know me, I am the quintessential introvert.
It's just somebody finally peeled back the surface and let it out.
Well, I just pretend that no one's listening. It's me and him talking to a person, and I'm kind of fascinated that you started listening, because I didn't know what you think about me doing this.
I didn't start listening because I thought this was your thing, and maybe you just didn't want anybody to, you know. I know how you are about your voice and being recorded, and I thought, well, maybe she didn't want to be bugged. You know, this is her deal, and I'll stay out of it. And then you suggested I start listening. I thought, okay, well, then she wants me to listen.
Well, the only person I don't think would really or does understand is our dad, so I don't really get into it. He knows what I'm doing, and I think our brother understands what I'm doing because I've talked to him on the phone once.
He does.
You know, he got us Rich Scheidner.
There's a lot of things Dad doesn't understand, and that's okay.
That's fine. He doesn't need to.
He's in his own little place, and he's happy, so that's fine.
Well, he's not happy.
We live in our little place, and we're happy.
Yeah. He's not happy in California, but, you know, I know what you're saying. But, yeah, so I don't imagine
live and let live.
I don't imagine our brother listens, which is fine with me. He's got too much to do. He's got young kids.
He's got kids, yeah. I doubt he's got a moment's peace.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought I'd finally call. Like I said, since you've had to broaden your horizons, you know, I told you Johnny has finally, after all these years, forced me to sing.
No.
And recorded a song that I wrote. He writes with this guy who's like one of his students, but he's also an old friend. And so he comes home and he says, well, my friend Jim has wrote this lick, and these are the 4 lines of words he's come up with. And then Johnny's supposed to write the rest of the song.
Mm-hmm.
Well, lately, I've been writing the songs. I've been writing all the lyrics. And Johnny spends all his time, you know, with the synthesizer, keyboard, and the mixing board, and all that stuff that I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And mixing everything together.
How do we end up with musicians?
I don't know.
I feel like we should be on a sitcom called I Married a Musician. We have wacky adventures every week. So you've been writing songs. That's pretty cool.
Finished and finalized. It's a demo. This particular song, though, is one of Johnny's. He's had for many years. He's had this song written for like 20 years, just as an instrumental, and we decided to work on it. And I said, I want to make it a ska music. You know, let's make reggae ska. And he says, okay. So he got me to sing, and I'm finally kind of getting used to hearing my voice recorded, but I still cringe. But I'll send you a copy when it happens so you can see, you know, what it would be like if you sang, because it sounds just like you.
Oh, God. I'm sorry, but
I have the same voice.
Oh, no. Yeah, I stay away from the singing unless it's in the car and I'm alone, so.
Or if she's in a room behind a door, and then you can listen to her outside.
I was not singing. I was playing the keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't sung since I was in choir, and that's a long time ago.
I am the only one in our family that has zero music ability. I can't sing. I can't play, and it really irks me.
Well, you can play a little keyboard.
Not anymore. It's kind of dead. Anyway,
well,
that's cool.
Got a keyboard downstairs now, so maybe I'll try to plink around with it.
Mm-hmm.
Big fancy Yamaha.
Yeah, we're tripping over keyboards here. How many does he got now? I don't even know.
I've lost count.
Well, you know, all of the instruments that are in this house belong to his student Jim. Mm-hmm. Because they're writing these songs. Jim's like, well, you need a 12-string, take this 12-string, and then here's a banjo, and here's a mandolin, and I can't even tell you how many instruments are down there. But it's like a pawn shop, and that's why I don't ever go anywhere, because when Johnny has to go out, I stay here to guard the shit. To guard the stuff. It's like our locks on our doors are so bad, it's like, I don't want anybody stealing anything.
We really need to
insure. Don't own it.
Yeah, we really need to insure the stuff in this house, because he's got things that are.
Let's
if you can afford it, do it.
Yeah. Well, you know, so that's cool. I'm glad you're
on all my computer stuff, but
I'm glad you're getting some.
I don't even have my
lyrics written there, and it's not something I could do.
Well, guess what? It turns out I'm good at it.
Of course you are. You were a liberal arts major too. Both liberal arts majors.
I was a history minor, Unfortunately, the other day, I hate to confess this live and on the air, I wrote a country song. Oh, God.
Oh, that's
it hurts
painful.
so bad.
Even though we're from Louisiana, we're just not country music
it's
people.
Pretty.
Well, you come to Texas, and it's the perfect place to write a country song.
Yeah, you fit right in.
Well, Johnny's very country, and he, and I appreciate country music and its place and everything, but Sean, we were not raised on this.
No.
We were not raised.
We were raised on
music.
swing,
we never
big
heard it
band,
at home.
and easy listening.
Big band, swing, torch songs.
Broadway.
Broadway, and then church music, and that's what we heard. We didn't even have a record player in the house until Kevin got one when he was old enough to buy it himself, and then I got one for my 18th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it was just the radio.
Yeah. Well.
And Dad playing the organ.
Yeah, we got organ music, but I still like organ music. So, well, we got two more callers.
The mother would play. You got another caller?
Yeah, I got two more callers. I don't know if you want to stay on or.
Well, I'll let you go.
All right.
Don't be a stranger.
Appreciate you.
Well, I'm always here. Love you.
Love you.
Have fun.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next caller, are you there?
Caller, did you hang up?
Is this me?
It is.
It is you.
It is the man. It's Dino.
No, I'm sorry. I don't want to act. I'm not going to act like the dummy. Is this me? Yeah, it's you. Okay.
Do you not know who you are?
This is Dino. Yes.
Okay, before you
Is that
start,
me? I don't know you.
Before you start, Dino, Sirlana, what did I do today?
You finished burning a CD, printing out the album art to put in the jewel case, to put in the envelope that you sealed up and is ready to address to Dino.
And where were we going tomorrow?
Lots of places.
Yeah, we are going to lots of places. That's a loaded question. But the thing is that Dino, I've got it packed and ready to go. I'm anxious to get this CD to you because, I promised it to you. And, you should not be without some jams in your car.
Well, thank you, but, I wasn't worried about it. You guys are busy enough. You both work full-time jobs besides this, but thank you. But no worries.
So what's on your mind, Dino?
Well, we started talking. I do love cryptids, and I could have used more time with the guy. I like to hear about all.
Well, he had to go, unfortunately.
Yeah, I understand. So the topic turned to music, and I just have to bring up something that's very upsetting. All I can do is bring it to your audience for public opinion, even though there are not many of them in California. But this belongs to everybody, and that is, I helped volunteer, never got paid, but helped put on the 30th anniversary of the Summer of Love in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco, with Chet Helms when he died. Boots Houston named us the Council of Light, a group of interested volunteers. He's a local producer. He's not Bill Graham, but he's had 30-something years experience producing musical entertainment events in San Francisco. And he has a small record company called 2B1 Records. And so I helped him, a large group of us, put on the 40th anniversary of the Summer of Love. And now, this summer, 2017 will be the 50th anniversary of the Summer of Love. And, of course, many of the artists have died, but we still have quite a few. No one is getting paid. And we were all getting all set to go, doing some of the same things, getting some sponsors, so that it could be a free event with over 50,000 people in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. And we found out this week I'm not going to get emotional, but the Park and Rec Commissioner is Herb Cain, the famous Chronicle syndicated columnist used to say Rec Park. And they denied our permit. So there are tens of thousands of people around the world, some of them making plans. They were here in 1967 for the first human be-in and such. And this is a historic cultural and social event. And we can't believe that some commissioners didn't like something was said or about how many people might show up or something when they put on for-profit events now. You know, I mean, they fence it off every year for this, not Lollapalooza, but it's called Outside Lands Festival, and they charge money, and it's a public park. And here we're putting on a free event like we have every time. Paul Kantner just died, but there were members of Jefferson Airplane, Jefferson Starship, members of the Youngbloods, all these famous songs that were the landmark of the 60s, you know? So there is a website called the 50th Anniversary Summer of Love. I don't know if they're taking more members, but people can comment. We've already had one comment period because we were denied on appeal, and this is a horrible thing. Everybody that hears about it, Barry Melton of Country Joe and the Fish is a lawyer now. I'm sure he's helping us with this. But it's more that the mayor of San Francisco, Ed Lee, who should know better, he should take the reins and just say, let it be. Because our events that we've had have had the police that we pay for have told us, we've had the least trouble with your events, even in the events where people pay to get in, Mm-hmm. And so, I'm just asking, I guess you can go online and search out 50th Anniversary Summer of Love, San Francisco, and add your comments if anybody has ever been through San Francisco, if anybody was there in the late 60s. I mean, as if the music and the heritage of the music, that's not enough, of the bands that started in the San Francisco Bay Area and created a sound that indeed around the world is known as Bay Area music. It's a unique kind of rock but has folk influence sound and psychedelia in some of the bands too. Grateful Dead, Quicksilver Messenger Service, mm-hmm. Big Brother and the Holding Company, Janis Joplin, it goes on and on. But even with the music aside, people that went through or were influenced by the Summer of Love when it happened and for 10 or 20 years later include people who have gone on to become some of the icons of the business and innovation world, like Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs dropped out of college to drop acid, LSD, and when he came back, look what he created. And people just cannot believe that the Park and Rec Commission of San Francisco has denied our permits. And they gave us permits obviously it was different members on the board, but 10 years ago. So we're going to have to appeal to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, who are 11 individuals from different parts of San Francisco that were elected, and they're just about as powerful as the mayor. But both these entities of the San Francisco government need to hear from the world that, hey, this is a world-class historic event. This might be the last live celebration of this. I mean, the musicians, we've lost so many of them just last year for these mm-hmm. iconic bands. And again, they're doing this for free. And, I've been backstage at both of them, and it's just, the music is there, but just the feeling of camaraderie and looking back on people's lives to see how this concept of, love and that you share with people, you didn't even have to be a Christian. You just came to San Francisco, put a flower in your hair, and, it's different than nowadays. People weren't saying, hey, bub, what's up? It was like, hey, peace, brother, before you even met somebody. So, I don't know. I'm just venting here, but hopefully if anybody can help, if anybody knows anybody in San Francisco currently, anybody has any connections of people who are in government leaders currently in San Francisco, Mayor Ed Lee, the mayor, we've been writing letters, sending emails, we've had even some celebrities, tell the Board of Supervisors, that how could you let this happen? You need to overrule the Park and Rec Commission of San Francisco to allow Golden Gate Park to open up the polo fields where the original Human Being with Tim Leary and Grateful Dead and There's so many people that are icons. Stanley Stanley, the guy that perfected the art of making LSD when it was still legal and even afterwards. And where indeed the whole free marijuana movement started. I mean, not to say that drugs is everything, but the concept of the diggers. You know, they had free stores in the late 60s where if you came in from out of town, you walked into the store, you could trade, whatever, but there was no money. You just took what you needed. Strange concepts to many now, but they changed not only a generation, but they really changed America.
Yeah,
and they stopped the Vietnam War, too.
I think that's sad to hear. I mean, something that promotes love, peace, understanding, and compassion, and, you know, and to be able to attend a free concert, you know, it's just tragic on this 50th anniversary that, you know, the park permit has been denied. And then plus, I mean, you have, you know, I know you come from a time when you saw some great bands. Some of the lineup that was supposedly scheduled for this lineup, we were talking about Moby Grape, the reunion. All the original members were supposed to be in that. County Joe McDonald, Brian.
Country Joe.
Yeah, Country Joe, that's right. I mean, just the Canned Heat. I mean, just a lot of good bands were going to attend, and it's sad that I hate to go all like I hate bureaucrats and what they do, because there are bureaucrats that actually serve a good function, but in this, I think it's tragic because you have such an iconic celebration, like I was saying, of compassion, understanding, peace, and love, and now that is at a point where, you know, it's going to take people actually speaking up and saying, no, this must go on. This is not something that needs to be under the corporate heel and make money off of. It goes against every belief of what the Summer of Love is all about.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, that these bands that you mentioned, some of them still live around here. I mean, within 20 miles of San Francisco, we have Bonnie Raitt. She's still performing, you know, that she came out of this whole thing. And, I mean, when he died, but Ray Manzarek of The Doors was there at our 40th with Michael... oh, geez, they're going to hit me for this. I saw everybody, but it was just such an event. It went on for, 10 hours. But Michael, it'll come to me. But they did poetry and music, I mean, and some of these people want to come back again, and other people that are children. Dino Valenti wrote What You Gonna Do About Me with Quicksilver Messenger Service, and he wrote... what was the other famous? Oh, gee, his son's going to kill me. But his son has been performing for years now. His son lives still locally, and so all these people that gave their time and energy to this, and to be stopped in its tracks. We had it set up for June 4th, coming June 4th in the polo fields. We all have to give good energy and hope that something will break loose. A lot of people are being informed. That's why I'm doing this. And that we can still keep that date, because it would indeed be the beginning of the Summer of Love 50 years later. I know if Paul Kantner of Jefferson Airplane were still alive, intelligent man, wrote wonderful music, and yet many times through the years you could just walk up to him on the street. He had no celebrity attitude or anything, because that was considered uncool. It was not fashionable to have a big ego when this scene started.
Well, Dino,
so,
let me ask you. Is the appeal still up? I mean, isn't the next step the appeal to the Board of Supervisors?
Thursday, I couldn't make it because of work. Thursday, they had the second appeal. They were denied.
Okay.
So they went out on the website and they told people, it's got to be done through, mental and heart energy, I guess, now. And hopefully someone will come to the rescue. People are reaching out to people they know. I know Angela Alioto, whose father was a mayor during this time period, and She's a big-time lawyer, and I've reached out to her. I don't know what she can do, but she said she's trying. And you hate to have to go legal or this or that. It should just be that public opinion from all over America and the world, if you ever went through San Francisco, if you ever enjoyed a San Francisco band, if you like Janis Joplin or Grace Slick singing White Rabbit, or Somebody to Love, you know, send an email. Go on to the San Francisco, website, and then find the names and phone numbers. They're all listed there of the Board of Supervisor members of Mayor Ed Lee's office, and phone up and tell them, hey, I don't live in San Francisco, but we had people that were coming. They were starting to book hotel rooms, and tell them that you would like to be there or you will go there, but this is, they're shocked and amazed that the whole world is watching what happened in San Francisco, and now you're going to deny a 50th anniversary free celebration. It's going to not only bring business to the city and goodwill, but mention that they have this Outside Lands Festival the last few years where they charge big money and fence off the park, which I was always against. The park, back in the late 60s, free music was started by people living in the Haight-Ashbury and the Grateful Dead. They would get a couple of flatbed trucks, rent a generator, and just plug it and play on a Sunday afternoon, And so we need public opinion. We need the world to say, San Francisco, what are you doing? You just issue the permit. I want to also mention that on the 40th anniversary, when we were having a little bit of trouble at first, then the then mayor, Gavin Newsom, who's now Lieutenant Governor of California, said that he made it a proclamation that it would be Summer of Love Day. That was just 10 years ago, right. And now we're being denied permits. And Boots Houston, who kind of helps us spearhead the effort, mentioned back then, he goes, what do they think we're going to do? Why we don't need lots of cops like most events. He goes, most of us are in our 60s. He goes, what are we going to do? Tear up the park? I mean, but yet they get fees. See, this is all what's wrong with America now. They get fees and money from these paid events. And years ago, during the 60s, they didn't want the hippies playing in the park. I remember hearing a police officer talk to someone, well, these hippies come in here and they step on the grass. Well, you ought to see what it's like after the Outside Lands Festival or our famous Bay to Breakers run, which is a big running carnival on a Sunday morning, and usually in March, I think they run it. And you ought to see all the porta potties and damage and people weeing behind bushes that happens there. I mean, our event, after the 40th event, many people came to us and said, even the police, and they said, man, there was hardly any trouble. We've never had such an easy time. The cops, it was like back at Woodstock, the cops were smiling because they didn't have anything to do except listen to music and talk to people.
I mean, what are you going to expect out of a thing called Summer of Love? I mean, you brought up all these other events that pretty much trample the park, but then you have a group of people that, it's not about, destroying the environment. It's just a matter of going there, listening to some good music, and whatever helps you get through the music, you just go with the flow, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's some good people. That's people I want to hang out with is listen to some good tunes and just chill and enjoy the day of the festivities and the music.
Everyone is welcome, even if you're a square, as we used to say, as long as you just fit into the scene. Don't try to shake it up. Just be. And people that have never been would say, oh, I'm afraid of big crowds. They go there and they lose that fear because everybody's smiling and people are bringing their own stuff to share, and the music is there. And Golden Gate Park is a beautiful park, and it never gets too hot because we have the ocean breeze coming off the Pacific, the eucalyptus trees. It smells good. So if you've ever been to San Francisco or Golden Gate Park, if you've ever loved these bands, I implore you to write the mayor of San Francisco and the board of supervisors. You can email them. As I said, I think it's called sf.gov is the website for the city, and you can go through and just tell them, say, I'm going to come to San Francisco if you put the event on, or just tell them what you think, that, hey, this is a historic event. I can't believe that would be like New Orleans saying, oh, we're not going to give a permit for the Mardi Gras.
Right. Exactly.
So that's it. Well, thank you for letting me put that out there, because I can see that you, as well as our listeners, are shocked that a city entity that runs the Park and Rec Department would put a halt on it after it's been in the works for some time.
Well, that's
and it wasn't for any violation. It was just they said, "Oh, we think you made a mistake about how many people will show up." How do we know how many people are going to show up?
Right.
It's free.
Well, that's terrible to hear, Dino, and hopefully the audience can put out some positive vibes and hope that some closed-minded individuals opened up their minds and embraced what the Summer of Love is all about.
Well, thank you for the time, and I enjoyed tonight's show. And I'm going to go back to eating my Italian beans that I just cooked up.
That magical fruit.
I'd have you over. You'd love it. People that don't like beans like my beans. And with a little Sicilian wine, I'm telling you, on a Saturday night, there can be no harm.
Maybe one day, Dino. Maybe one day.
You're always invited. Well, good evening, all.
All right.
Thank you for the CD.
Yes, have a good evening, Dino. We love you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that's messed up. That's going on out there. Sherlana, we're kind of past our bottom of the hour. Let's take a quick bottom of the hour musical interlude, and we'll come back. If there's anybody else that wants to call, most definitely call in. A quick good night to Michelle. I know she was bugging out there, and we appreciate her being a part of the universe, and she made a great call tonight, and we just want to thank her for making that call and asking her question, and we want you all to feel like you can call the universe and don't worry about if your opinion is different from anyone else. That's what we're here, is to explore the universe together. So don't go anywhere, shall you? Wow. Spaceboy Music stuff. You know, Spaceboy Music has kind of revamped its page, Sir Lana. So when you go to...
I'm guilty of not seeing that.
Yeah, well, don't worry. That's why I'm telling the audience now, so you could feel like you fit right in. Basically, Spaceboy Music now, you have the player there that plays Spaceboy Music. You can also go to the SBU network, but what you get on the spaceboymusic.com site is a full listing of the music that is for sale. Like, for example, the new album Unique Technique is available. For $10, you can get 17 groovy tracks for a digital download, which is cool. And you should check it out, possibly buy it. It's only $10. And, makes a good gift for Grandma. Had to slow down there processing.
I haven't seen that because I'm busy keeping SBUnetwork.com and SpaceForUniverseNetwork.com updated.
We're doing lots of stuff for this. Mm-hmm. Like today, for example, I worked on a new video intro for our interviews and other projects that we have coming down the pipe. And so Spaceboy Universe has a new video intro that's video related. So I'm happy.
Yes, I did see that today. Mm-hmm. I was very impressed with you.
You said something that was really funny, but I won't say it again today.
What? Now remember?
I had to mute that. Sorry, everybody. I know we're adults out there, but I try to keep this G-rated on the show as much as I can.
He's a good boy, even in off air. He's PG. I'm the problem.
Yeah,
I'm bad.
I try. Well, off the show, I try to keep it because if I don't practice what I do off the show, that when I get on the show, then it's going to be a lot like what your sister said earlier in that conversation. No, that's not to say that I don't have a dirty mouth in the sense of saying...
Yeah, but you have to be provoked.
You have
to really be provoked.
I really...
You're just a better person than I am. You really are.
I don't feel that way sometimes. There's a dark side to me.
I'm not good, but I also have no interest in being good. So
generally, it's like one of those moments where, here, have a Snickers. Why? Because
you're going to kill someone.
Because you're acting like Ray. I can't even say it.
Look,
Ray.
Don't say names. Just don't say names.
From Goodfellas. That's what I was going to say.
I don't know. I never saw that, so I don't know.
The joke would have been funny if I'd actually been able to say Ray's last name, Lyotta. There we go.
Lyotta.
Tomato.
You're digging.
Look, why don't you just go with the flow on this one?
Yeah, you're right, because I don't care.
Tina Carpenter. Sir Lana is a bad girl? Oh?
I wasn't that way before I moved to Texas.
And then before you met me?
Well, it started before I met you. I was like, hey, I'm alone and I can do whatever I want.
Like play the piano behind a closed door?
I don't know why that bothers you to this day.
No, it's because you're always saying, I can't play. I'm just no good at it. And the reality is...
As soon as I find something to throw at you that won't do permanent damage, here, I'll throw this card at your head.
I was hoping more for like a snack or something.
I don't have snacks in here.
Oh, that's a shame.
Mr. Double Big Mac Man.
Maybe, it's a shame that the Valentine's Day is over and there's no more.
Oh, man. Those chalky hearts were awesome.
Don't break my heart.
Don't start. Please don't start that.
Why, are you going to get you laughing about what I said earlier?
Yeah, and I cannot explain that. I'm sorry.
That was my bad moment. See what I'm telling you?
I know, but it was funny. Things we can't tell you.
Not as bad as me interpreting Spanish songs at the Mexican...
But you have no idea what they're saying.
I did not know what they were saying, which is kind of sad considering the last name Guerrero. But as I was explaining the songs to Sir Lana, I mean, the way it was being sung was similar to what I was describing to Sir Lana.
And I was like, would you be quiet? Get us thrown out of here or get our food spat into.
Only because they're going to wonder why you're laughing and, So
you're laughing because you're a goober.
Well, I've been full goober head on today.
Yes. Sometimes I can take it, sometimes I can't.
Yeah, so anyway...
now as we're circling the drain.
Yeah, we're getting close as we're coming in hot. Let's see. Yeah, so earlier...
Thank you, Kay, for that. Ringing endorsement. I was on my best behavior.
You see, what you need is a picture of Kay in a little circle that says approved, and saying K28 approves this message.
Yeah, take that picture in your new jacket, Kay, with your thumbs up. I'll do the rest in Photoshop.
So, Catalina was saying that you should do your own show.
Oh, whatever. I was just joking.
See what I'm talking about? She said she would listen.
Well, see, I would need someone to talk to.
See.
I don't have anyone to talk to
about
the subject matter.
What about that writer that you know, Lorelei DeVille?
Her life is cram-packed full of excitement and drama and horses.
Horses. Are you afraid the conversation might go to horses?
No, because it needs to.
Or here's an idea.
It actually does need to go to horses.
You could get a random person to talk to on each show you do. So, like, show 1, it's somebody. Show 2, it's somebody different. It's still your show, but you have people that come in and out of talking with you about various things you want to talk about.
There's 2 people I would talk to, but they're too famous on social media, so...
Now you got me curious.
Well, you wouldn't know it's in the Jane Austen thing, so...
Well, I like how you wouldn't know because you're just a big fat slob over there.
No, you've got other interests like zombies and crap, so...
Well, it's not all about zombies. Have you heard me talk about Walking Dead since it came back on? Which, incidentally, tomorrow, I believe, is another episode.
No, but, I mean, it's your show. You can talk about it.
True, but I've kind of gravitated away from hitting you up with a lot of Walking Dead because I can only take so many fingernails being cut off.
He muted me earlier because he said you could hear me filing my nails, so... Sorry.
Now, of all things, I've been watching this, show called Madam Secretary. I started binge watching it on Netflix, and it got so good that I purchased the most current season, and now I heard they're going to cancel the damn show. There's my... See? It made me mad. I got angry. See? A bad part of myself leaked out.
Yeah, I will smack your little hand there.
So, I'm frustrated. And when I started thinking about it, it's from CBS, which... I'm not surprised.
Don't get started on that. Star Trek.
So I'm a little disappointed. I've binge watched that show, and I know there's other shows. I even watched Lemony Snicket's thing, and which was halfway decent. It was really good. I highly recommend that one to watch. I'm trying to think of if there's something else that I've watched recently. And I can't think, the usual stuff I watch, like Big Bang Theory. I've watched that. Waiting for more American Pickers to come out.
I've been watching Counting Cars.
Well, that's good. And then...
whatever. Let's get back to what I'm talking about.
I think you have this Danny fetish. If I put on dark sunglasses and put a bandana and I said, look at me, I'm a.k.a. the Count. I mean, I'm sure, she's smiling over here right now.
I just... want to hug him once and go on my merry way. That's it. I'm
well,
fine.
If I dress like him, would you hug me?
Would you have a big fake
I don't know. I'm losing some hair back there, but I could put on some kind of fake thing.
That's why he wears the bandana.
I know he's losing his hair. What? And then plus, I've noticed on a few episodes he's not working out.
He's not a young man anymore.
Yeah, but still, he could hit the gym and
but he's still cool.
Turn those floppies into some
hard drives. What?
Yeah, hard drives. Yeah. But I like Counting Cars. It's a great show. I crack up at Horny Mike all the time. He's such a goober. They used to have a lot of Raleigh in there, but they don't necessarily have him as much. I guess. They put him on the back burner or something.
Yeah, I used to watch those too, Tina, before, but we watch them on like Amazon and Netflix now. You find out the shows you really like when you have to pay for them individually.
Mm-hmm. One show that we stopped watching when we went to On Demand was Pawn Stars.
Yeah, because it was so formulaic,
exactly.
And it was, I found out, like most reality shows, it was heavily scripted. Yeah. The people didn't just walk in off the street with these awesome things. They were like found and...
another show that was like that, but I enjoyed it up to almost the very end was American Restoration.
What happened to it? Did it just finish?
They canceled it, and then they started to go off with this. They brought it back, but with some new person. And from all I know is that I just said, I'm going off on something else. I only watched that show because I enjoyed the original cast members on there, and now they're not on there, and so I don't watch that. Another show that we kind of watched together, but you tapered off was Tanked.
Again, it's just like the same thing over and over and over and over. However, another show that was very similar that I did enjoy was My Cat from Hell.
True. I have to admit, I did dig his sideburns. So it does give me hope that if I ever lose all
magic sideburns,
if I lose all my hair on the top of my head,
still have your
I could have my sideburns still.
Wicked sideburns.
I could turn that,
and he's got it where like he's completely bald, but then he wears glasses like you do and
thick,
I do.
Black, yeah.
But he still has those almost not quite mutton chops.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like they're just appearing out of nowhere from under his glasses.
Right.
Like this part.
Like if he took his glasses off, the sideburns would go with it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an interesting look. He's cool. I mean, he's got an interesting look. A musician, obviously, but he's the cat whisperer in a lot of ways.
He's got a cool name, Jackson Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean...
That's his real name?
That's his real name. And I noticed that I've seen some pictures of him recently. He's lost a lot of weight, too.
I follow him on Facebook, Cat Daddy or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Cat Daddy.
Because we have a cat, and I like to see cat-related things.
I enjoyed watching that show, but I got kind of worried that it started to get a little... I guess all shows go that way, because... first it starts off the show with banter, then it goes into a guest, and then there's the last few minutes of the show where they desperately look for something to talk.
Oh man, don't you hate that? It's so freaking predictable, and you get in a pattern. It's so boring.
Oh man, I don't know.
And then they just won't shut up, and they're not got anything to talk about.
And then the audience is, although they seem like they're tuned in, they're actually talking about gravy. I mean, or Cheetos, or
I went
or circus peanuts.
PetSmart today to get our cat some different food because she's been kind of fussy lately. And of course, they have the cats up for adoption in there, and I always go there first just because I love looking at cats. And they had cats that are actually awake, and they were in there, and the music was playing "China Girl" by David Bowie. So I just wanted to go. Can I just borrow one of the cats and dance around the store with it and bring it back?
Meanwhile, back at the haircut salon, I'm busy getting my haircut, and I feel like they didn't quite cut the back of my hair right, and I feel like I got a mullet.
No, you're fine.
Okay, good.
K28, I'm pretty sure Stan Wilson is passed on. He was like ancient when I was a kid.
Is that the one that I guarantee? Oh, man, that was classic.
Oh, do you remember the guy with the walk?
My grandmother dated a guy that looked like him, and all my friends from school were like, hey, ask him if he'll cook us some Cajun food.
Who's the guy? Excuse me. I had to get up real early this morning, just the wrong side of dawn.
Oil change that we put off from last week.
Oh, I put off the oil change because we've got to drive down to Webster tomorrow.
Which is the 19th, right? Which is the day that we're going to go see Daryl Sims.
At his little presentation.
Meetup thing.
But it's at...
Look, don't be hurting. If
I'm not hating on it. It's just kind of strange that it's at the community room of the retirement center.
I don't know how to react to that, but I don't, I don't know
if he brings the artifacts and photos he says he is. I hope somebody doesn't have a heart attack seeing all that.
Well, I'm just going to be jazzed with the fact that we're going to meet him. One, two, it should be proved to be an interesting presentation. And, they'll definitely...
I wonder if we can report on it or not.
Well, we've got press badges. We slap our press badges on, and it gets us everywhere.
It doesn't give us real authority.
No, but, it's the what is it, the voodoo that we project to people that we do matter. We do matter. We do matter. I just hope I don't turn into, like, Wayne's World, like, I'm not worthy. So,
I'm not. You've put me up against famous people before, and I'm like, hey, what's up?
I know. Do you want to tell the classic one real quick?
Is it the Pet Shop Boys?
Yes, the Pet Shop Boys, when we met them.
Well, they're your music idols.
I know. And
I'm like, I like them.
I'm like giddy as a schoolgirl, and then you're like... I
don't really have any idols.
Hey, Chris. Hello. I mean, nonchalantly.
Hey, Chris, hey, Neil. Like they're old acquaintances.
Yeah, so... But that for me, once again, that's a fine example of watching you do something that you've never done before or would have conceived of meeting people like that.
What does it mean saying that it means to you? It's cool, but if I had never done it, I could still live a full life.
Well, sure you could, but for me, I get enjoyment out of the fact that meeting my musical idols, but it's also cool, like when I do the show and we're talking and you research the subject matter and you take lead, I'm like enamored of like, wow, you read that or you discovered that, and how do you feel about that? And of course you just said, well, I could just go on with my life and sit in a chair in a library and read all the books.
Could. If you'd let me go right now, I'd be out the door with a book in the bed.
Well, I'm sorry, you married me and you've been had.
That's what I said to him about 3 months after we got married. I said, well, I tried to tell you all this beforehand. You should have known. Second date, I was all up front. I said, here's what I want, here's what I don't want, here's what I'm not going to do, here's what I'm not going to eat, so.
And
here we are.
I stuck around this long. Are we going to go for another 20?
Yeah, because you need free web development and graphics.
There you go again. That is true, though. I do need some free stuff, and she does a great job of all the artistic stuff.
We are teaching each other Premiere and After Effects.
After Effects. Yeah, we're learning together.
Yeah.
See, just like this show, we are exploring the universe and learning something new.
But why do I want to slap you?
Because you do. I know. In fact, there are nights I wake up with one eye and I see you staring at me, ready to like punch me in the face. And I'm wondering, what did I do to you?
Because you probably made a noise that scared me.
Oh, you said I've been making a lot of weird noises lately.
Yeah, like you're fighting battles in your sleep. Oh, well, if it wasn't so late, I'll tell you that story. I heard a story about two sets of brothers that grew up in the same house that would see at night miniature battles being reenacted on their bed.
What?
Like from guys in period piece, like, medieval battles. And it was like they were seeing a piece of another universe from another time. But there was never any sound, and the people in the battles couldn't see them. It was like, that's really weird.
That is bizarre. So,
I don't know why I told you that.
No, you went out left field. I appreciate that, and you've added more content to this program. So, I feel blessed by that.
You're weird.
I don't know what it is today. I'm in a good mood, and
I'm gonna have to hit you with a hammer to get you down.
That's probably the reason why I'm all grumpers. Is that you secretly been switching my Folgers for something else.
Crack cocaine.
Yeah, probably. So, Sirlana, at this point, what do we have on housekeeping?
What am I allowed to say?
Housekeeping. What is it? Well,
any of that?
Well, you can. I mean, it's not like we have, it's not something that I see going on somebody else's broadcast.
Yeah, well, March 4th, I'm going to call this Volume 1 because there's just no way you can get it all done in one episode or
first off,
broadcast.
We got one more program for the month of February.
Oh, yeah. For being the shortest month of the year, it has been the longest assiest month. It just will not freaking end. So the 25th of this month, we're going to revisit something I had to put off because it seems like I've just been under the weather for a whole month. But we're going to talk about our favorite Linda Moulton Howe moments or stories she's covered or concepts she's looked into. And I already kind of got a little head start on that, so I don't know what you'll bring to the table, but that is next Saturday.
I bring this handsomeness.
Lord have mercy. March 4th, Great Women of History, Volume 1. March 11th will be some sort of tech I have sort of an idea for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to talk about the captains of the industrial age, whereas I would like to talk about the industrial age as where it all went wrong. That's the beginning of where it all went wrong. And then the 25th of March, I'm really looking forward to. I want to talk about mind control in music.
That should be fun.
Oh, yeah, just to make sure Linda's not on the show, we're just going to be talking about her. We don't really have that kind of street cred yet. So
yeah, maybe we get lucky and she like calls in and like, hey, I heard you talking about me. What you talking about?
I don't think we'll get that lucky.
My
again.
ears were burning, so
I doubt we'll get that lucky.
I was driving down the highway and there's this big scorpion that popped in front of me and I heard y'all were talking about it.
And then, of course, April 1st, we have confirmed Patrick Spohr is coming back.
Oh, good old Patrick. Man, we love Patrick. And just in time, too, because retrograde is
Mercury retrograde?
Thank you. Is going to be like right after that, but he can talk about that. And Patrick, he's a wealth of information, so it's not just that he can talk about.
And then it's sort of just nebulous after that. So.
Yeah, we got some things coming down the pipe, but the most interesting thing is, like we opened up the program with, is that Fringe FM. We're exploring that going on with them and becoming they're becoming one of our affiliates to broadcast the SBU, and we're excited about that. And we've got some tech issues ahead of us, so we're going to explore that. But if it works out, you'll be able to hear us on this network, and you'll be able to hear us on that network. And I'm sure Mr. Joe Roop is excited. I get the impression he is. So, and I know that. Dave.
I know nothing.
Dave Cruz is excited too. Going back to back on the same night, and providing some wonderful content for the Beyonders and the Space Cadets. So, anything else we need to add to that, Sir Lana?
No, we've pretty thoroughly covered it.
You sure? Have we covered it? Positive? You sure you didn't miss something?
Are you trying to tell me something, or?
I mean, am I trying to tell you something?
I am going to smack you so hard. I swear to...
On that magical note, say goodnight, Sir Lana.
No.
Spaceboy Universe is hosted by Spaceboy and Sir Lana. Executive producer is Sir Lana. Producer credit goes out to Dennis Koch. Find Spaceboy at spaceboymusic.com and spaceboyuniverse.com. This has been a Spaceboy Universe production. You have reached your final destination. Good night, Space Cadets.